Plat chat, episode
Oh my
168. It's episode 168, Jaws. Why are you upset? Why are you upset?
Why
Jaws?
am I upset? Because you pressed live as soon as I was freaking out because you're not using the plugin I sent you because you said it looks fishy. It's not redline malware or anything, bro. Just fucking just drag and drop into your OBS folder.
I don't know.
And you
It's
can
like
instantly
some-
go live on YouTube and Twitch at the same time.
Some like
Those are trying to,
.cmd
sounds like
thing.
ransomware.
Yeah,
That's ransomware.
trying to hack my PC, get hold of all the Plat chat
What-
revenue.
He wants your rank 14 WoW account.
Yeah,
That's what he wants.
Your Grand Marshal fucking WoW account, yeah.
I wonder if I can. No, I can't sell that. I mean, I'll get banned from everything I do.
Overwatch podcast. Can I sell a
just
WoW
can't,
account?
just can't admit it. That's all. You know.
Yeah.
Just can't say it
because
publicly.
people used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
So obviously I couldn't do that because I'd literally just like never be associated with Blizzard again. But
Yeah, a big trouble with Big Blizzard.
I wonder.
He says but, and now he's looking up how
WoW
much
Classic
a,
account for sale. Look, I'm
Galarian
just curious.
Black-
I'm just
Black-
curious,
I'm
bro.
just- oh
No,
my
I'm just
God.
saying, you know, esports winter, you know, if shit goes down, you know, you gotta take drastic measures. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, bro.
If Overwatch
To be
League
fair,
crashes, if you want my Overwatch account, I have Pink Mercy. Yo, hit me up. You know, I'll give you the goods. I'll need it.
How much is Throw Machine?
Yeah, Throwmobile.
Yeah, Throwmobile. Sorry.
Sure, you don't want Dildo Mum? It's a much better account.
Dildo was a classic. Not a banned battle tag, by the way.
Not a
It hasn't
banned.
been name changed yet, so a rare one.
You guys want to talk about the Grand Prix?
Well,
That
Johnny's
most
recent
literally
one?
selling his WoW account right now, so I mean,
there's-
let's talk about something.
It
Guys,
seems to
wanna
have
talk
dropped the
about
hammer pretty
Bahrain?
hard. You can't do that anymore.
I just want to see how long we can delay talking about Overwatch, so that people watching the premiere get mad.
So I can't believe Max Verstappen's going to win again. That's crazy.
Yeah, so Red Bull
Dude.
start this year was, woo! What a
Dude.
good start, hey?
Yeah,
What a good
dude.
start.
I actually, it's funny because whenever I listen to other podcasts, that is like when I listen to the podcast that I like to listen to, whenever they start talking about Formula One, I just tune it off. And now we're gonna start talking about Formula One on my podcast. All right, but this is not great for viewers. I'm gonna have to timestamp this or something. But yes, I did see. I don't know if you guys saw the crazy stat that he's won like 75% of the last
15,
20.
20,
Yeah. And like
Wow.
not even Lewis Hamilton did that, so it's just been dominant. It does feel like it's automatic at this point. He just wins.
Best driver in the best car. Should be happening.
Yeah, but I'm glad that
Honda, man.
Fernando
Honda.
Alonso, the 42-year-old, stuck up for all the old guys.
For the old heads. Yeah, we still have a chance, Johnny. If Fernando Alonso can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, and you know, it was funny as well how it was like at the end, like this is a beautiful car to drive, guys. This is a beauty. Just like so happy, just like so content after being known as like one of the biggest complainers in all the anyway. Well, it turned out to be me who was talking about Formula One, and no one else did really a lot of talking. But it was a fun first race. The new season of Drive to Survive was pretty fun as well. So
Yeah, I just finished watching it, so that's why I'm
dude,
locked in already.
we need like episode 2 with like the principal meeting when like they started bitching it was a class. Like we need that. Like just get all the Overwatch League GMs in one room and just like start ranting about stuff, blaming each other.
This-
That's
dude,
the
there's
drama.
such
That
league.
good
would be
banter.
the
There's
best
such-
podcast of all time. Holy shit. Just 17 people trying to 20 people trying to fucking talk over each other about how their team has it the fucking worst. God.
No, I like the real drama that happens, and you know they're all like
Yeah.
knives out, trying to backstab each other and shit. You know, oh,
In
this guy
Overwatch League or
went
Formula One.
in Formula One.
Okay.
But I'm saying it'd be fun. It'd be fun if it was happening at Overwatch. That's just a waste, because if it's happening and we're not recording it and it's not content, then why are they doing it? You know?
Why'd you do
As a
anything
joke,
if not
guys,
for
come on.
content?
Huh?
Why'd you do anything if not for content?
Exactly.
A wise man once said that.
Exactly.
This
Who
is
said that, Jack?
I think that was Sun Tzu in The Art of War, I think.
Why go to war if not for content?
If not for
Like if it's not on a YouTube video, did it happen?
Exactly. If it didn't go live on TikTok.
this is the closest we got to GM drama last week. It's Roston.
Oh,
talking to me.
Yeah, Roston, yeah.
Full match
Yeah, Roston came out of
we
nowhere.
care a lot more about Overwatch than Dynasty.
Yeah,
So I
that's
hope
yeah.
by the end of the year we
Oh,
can be a team you respect.
Oh, did you see Roston's follow-up tweet, which is a joke? He just did the Seoul Korea thing,
Yeah.
with the Infernal jersey and with the Dallas jersey.
Yeah, he's
He's going
this
for
is
it this year.
shit post arc, and I love it.
He's got his
might
knives
be-
out for Dynasty this year.
Yeah.
That might be a sick storyline going into the season, like for real though. Like, who is the Seoul team? Like we had like the battle for Texas, now we have the battle for Seoul, but it's just Roston in a fucking cage match with Arnold.
Yeah.
Like ready to duke it out. Who is the Seoul team?
It's genuinely a fantastic rivalry for the Overwatch League. But as someone else on Reddit put it, it's like, unless Infernal like win the league, like I'm not going to consider them like the premier Korea team. It's like literally the same in other sport as well. It's like the Lakers and the Clippers. It's like, oh, Clippers is the number 1 LA team in basketball. Like, no, it's just no, it's the Lakers. I'm sorry.
Tell you what,
Like, it's
Infernal at least got a team. It's just profit on Dynasty right now. No one knows who the hell else is on Dynasty. That
Can
team,
we talk about that, by the way? Fucking, I saw Miss Liz's tweet the other day about like, what the fuck's happening? Like, no talent announcement. Pro-Am starts in 2.5 weeks, so the teams have
Let's just
to
do
know
the talent
players,
announcement here.
like, dude,
Who's on this
do
here?
the
Should we just do the talent announcement
Let
now?
me just open my
Let's announce
emails up
people
again real
that
quick.
don't exist. yeah, don't bring the emails up. Let's just announce people don't exist. We have Michael Schumacher, ex-Formula 1 driver. He's going to be casting with fucking, I don't know.
What's he doing, by the way? Is he still in a coma?
Yeah.
Is he?
That's usually
okay.
once you're in there,
Okay.
it's hard to get
Didn't
out
know
of
that. Didn't know that.
I don't know if he's in a coma. I just know.
I didn't know that.
heard, Custa. It's like getting out of like a cave or something. Like, yeah, when you're in a coma, it's pretty hard to get out.
With
Try
his
harder.
situation, he's not coming out of it, you know, which is
Okay,
sad. But yeah,
I used to look
he's-
this up because I used to watch Michael Schumacher. He was like my favorite driver back.
Yeah,
like,
you
when I was
should
a
look that
child.
up. Jack,
I
it's
literally
not-
had his
not
banner
going
in
to.
my room. I used to be a huge
Yeah.
Formula 1 kid.
Oh my god, what? Yeah, I used to have a. Dude, that's so fucking sad. What the fuck?
It's actually, I found this immediately very interesting. Like, if this was a Forest episode, I'd just do a deep dive on like how do comas work, because I genuinely have no idea.
No.
Like,
Yeah,
if you told me that it was RNG if you woke up, I would be like, sure, yep.
Yeah,
Sorry,
dude,
dude.
I had a poster of his car in my room as a child.
Yeah. I had like a banner. It
What?
was like all the world championships he won. Well, it was like 6 or something, like 98, 99, 2000. Was him and
Well, I
Felipe
retract
Massa
my
for Formula
comment.
1.
I,
See? I got
I
some
hope
history,
he-
me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
true.
Yeah.
I hope he turns out okay.
David Coulthard on Mercedes, you know? I think a good
Oh,
old...
David Coulthard,
Yeah,
yeah.
Jason Button. I can just rattle off all the names.
Did you like
really
when Michael
disappointed.
Schumacher and David Coulthard had that fight? We should have that in Overwatch League.
I don't remember that.
Players should
Yeah.
physically assault each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Player fight.
We need more
Sorry,
of
that already happened 2 years ago. My bad. But I mean like this year.
What? What combat are we talking about? What physical altercation?
Are we going MMA? Or we boxing?
MMA.
I mean, we've been talking about the
MMA.
boxing thing for a long time now. They did do the streamer thing, which was like the chess boxing thing.
Yeah.
Ludwig actually pulled
was
that
Chess
off,
boxing
right?
was super good.
That was,
Yeah.
it was a good event. I've been trying to get Matt to fight me at the grand finals this upcoming year or at BlizzCon. We'll see if it goes, because I got the reach, but Matt has the high kicks, that we've all seen. So.
He
The
does
high-
have, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His high
leg goes
kicks go
surprisingly high.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's,
Tested it on the streets of Toronto. He almost knocked out a woman walking along the road.
Yeah, he has some odd form though, because he does like the frontal kick. He doesn't do a twist or anything. It's just a front up kick.
That's deadly, man.
Yeah,
Knock your teeth out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had a classmate when I was in elementary school, like 4th or 5th grade. Whenever we got into fights, he would do the same thing. But it was such a great exploit because I could just grab his leg and then he'd be fucked. Because he just throw it up and I'd be like, all right, I'll grab his leg and now I got like a grip on you. And
I got a strategy then. Okay, I'm good to go. I'm
Yeah.
ready for the playoffs now.
He's ready.
yeah. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to take a bit of a deep dive on this boxing chess thing, right?
There's
Okay,
no
go
way
on.
you're gonna extend this intro, Johnny.
Okay.
There's no
All
way.
right, I won't. I had something planned up, but I'll save it for some other podcast. All right.
And,
I have all my
Some other
rants
podcast?
written
What
down on a little
podcast are you
notepad list on
doing?
my phone.
How many podcasts are you on, dude?
Yeah, how many podcasts you on, Johnny?
Oh, you gotta
you
prep the
cheating on us?
segments. You gotta prep the rants. They don't just come out of empty air. Like, you gotta give some time. You gotta think.
You're giving away trade
perfect
secrets
the
right now.
takes.
Stop, please stop. Everything is
the
scripted.
trade
We
secret is
script
thinking, yeah? The trade secret
Yeah,
is,
no, we
I actually
script all
think
of our
about what I
cast.
say, Joss. That's
Yeah,
the trade
exactly.
secret.
Giving away the
Yeah.
trade secrets. It's not
I
fair.
tried for a while not thinking. It didn't work out. People just got upset all the time.
That was peak 2020 when Johnny
Best
said
moment.
Void
Holy
was
shit.
overrated.
Holy shit. Yeah. Before going to Overwatch, you guys wanted to talk. This was the biggest surprise for me this morning. You guys wanted to talk about Counter-Strike 2.
Yeah,
What-
this is
No,
a
let's
big
do
thing
it.
in the industry.
I'm gonna spend half an hour on this. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. After our very popular episode last week, where we gave the full lecture on esports economics and how the teams should be financially stable, let's dive into this one. How the esports scene, the general esports scene, will be impacted by the renewal of interest in Counter-Strike 2 as a premier esport. I say that like it's dead. It's literally like probably still the biggest
It's still a
esport.
huge esport.
They
It's
still
still
peaked,
growing.
like I'm pretty sure they
large,
peaked in player base like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah, they
still
did,
just
yeah.
like the number one game, and now they're
This
getting
would be
even
like
more.
this would be like if League of Legends, who's already at the top, is like, let's just make LoL 2, and they're like totally unnecessary, but they'll just do it anyway. No, but I think for Valve, they this is their counterpunch for against Valorant, because it's like, well, Valorant's taken a lot of players, taking a lot of attention, the attack shooter space. CS:GO is how old CS:GO now? It's like, is it 10 years old?
Over older
Really
than that, I
Nah,
would
over
say.
10, right?
It's really old. My point, it's fucking old, ancient, not quite as old as Alonso, but
Just over
really
10
old.
years.
And yeah, I mean, this is a calculated business move. It's time for Valve to take back some of their players.
Yeah, and like I'm sure I can speak for a lot of people as well. Of like, I play CS:GO, I play it every now and then, but one of the biggest drawbacks of the game is just the anti-cheat's pretty bad. It feels like there's a cheater in like every second game. The matchmaking's pretty poor, and
The tick rates.
and the tick rates,
It's
and
so
just like the
annoying.
way that the servers run, like it's just kind of annoying. If they can take everything, they don't even have to change Counter-Strike. They just put it in the new source engine. They put a good matchmaking in, and then they do the marketplace how they're currently doing it. People love that shit, even though it's like pretty much gambling and should be illegal. If they put all of those things together, people will go back and it'll rise even more than it has, because people have thought CS:GO is going to die forever. You know, when Valorant was coming out, people were like, this will replace Counter-Strike. But as Johnny said, they hit peak unique players few weeks ago for the first time. So it's like, well, kind of hard to argue with the success. It's a popular game, especially in Europe and South America.
Oh, it's unbelievable in Europe.
Yeah.
It's nuts, and it always has been. I think it's pretty interesting, because I think around like the time of like 2015, 16, something like that, like when esports really started to blow up, you know, when LCS led the way pretty early, I'd like to say. I don't want to say led the way, because obviously Counter-Strike is like the original, you know, it's in many ways like that, and StarCraft 1 are like the original esports games with Quake and all this stuff. But around like 2013, 14, about the time like LCS really got going, esports kind of like started this boom that led to like the Overwatch League and like where we are. And at that time, one of the biggest things when it came to like the mainstream discussions was that like, oh, it's too violent, you know, like the guns are too obvious, like grenades and all this stuff. Like, you can't make Counter-Strike like the biggest esport, because it just won't hold up like publicly, like with the general audience. Like, parents are not going to allow their kids to like go to an event to watch people like shoot guns and like stuff like that. Like, it's just not going to be the mainstream.
Oh, in certain states,
game.
maybe.
In certain states, maybe. But I honestly feel like, and I don't know if I've been Americanized or something, but I feel like people are generally more okay, because people have learned to sort of like separate the game from real life. And when it comes to watching Counter-Strike, I feel like people are just like more okay with it in the sense of like, you know, the general like public, and like they understand it. It's just a game. It's fine. And so I feel like Counter-Strike is like really set up now for just like mainstream, like being like this fantastic kind of esports experience, and there won't be a lot of like criticism like that will hold up. Tons of studies like back that up as well, I believe. Oh my god, I should not have said that, because I was just completely from my ass. But
There is tons of evidence.
tons of studies, guys. Tons of studies. I'm back now. I actually. Why did I get that from? I might just have lied on the podcast about literal science.
This whole podcast, I mean, that's fine.
But yeah, I feel like Counter-Strike 2 is in a fantastic spot to just like, you know, make the most in esports.
I mean, it's the desensitization of media over many years, right? I mean, if you look back at like banned PS2 games back in the day, like Manhunt, etc., like original Xbox, PlayStation 2 games, those games will be fine now. Completely okay. Like, saw exists, you know, even though it's a bit clowny and a bit comedic, like still the act of like sawing someone in half and shit like that, like people just kind of like, okay, like it's whatever. It's just as time goes on, people do get as desensitized over time, which, you know, is for good or for bad. There are definitely good aspects of that and bad aspects. But
By the
at
way,
the same time, it allows a bit more like expression in like media. And I think that's a really interesting topic, Johnny. Definitely not something to go into on this podcast, or it looks like we are going into it. But
I got a question.
yeah, how like Counter-Strike is like back then. It's like terrorists, like obviously terrorists, pretty bad thing overall. I'd say. I don't think that's a hot take at all. But
yeah. I kind of like the attackers and defend labels
Big hot
instead.
take.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they've kind of morphed in a way. They've morphed their language in a way. I feel like over the years to say like attackers and defense, or even like CT and T, like just to get that word out of the way completely. And I think and Counter-Strike is a very good example of that. How like times do evolve and change. Like and calling attackers and defenders and stuff. I think that's very okay, but. I think Counter-Strike, like you said, has always been popular in Europe. When I was in fucking Ukraine casting contenders back in 2018, 2019, we were in this like PC bang basically. And Ukraine, I don't know the percentage of people that have home PCs, but this place was fucking full all the time. What 2 games were played there? Fucking CS and World of Tanks. Like that was it. That was the only games that were played there. Maybe you see something else every now and then, but like, god damn, is CS still popular in Europe? It is crazy. I'd like to see the market share between that and Valorant,
So,
to be honest.
like naming conventions and blood effects and violence aside, which I think you could just, if that's an issue, they could just add a toggle for that. I mean, the broadcast can do stuff about that.
China
if they
used to
want
have
to. They
that.
probably
Don't you know? Like you killed someone and
yeah,
you
that's
like
just
do
like-
the animation and like lie down with like hands on the head. Yeah, no blood.
I mean, PUBG as well. The green blood is just playing paintball. But in any case, do you think CS2 even changes the gameplay? Am I crazy? I think it's like the reverse Overwatch 2, where like Overwatch 2 graphically pretty much Overwatch 1. I think they updated the engine in some way, but you can't tangibly see the difference. The gameplay is different. I mean, depending on who you ask, a really casual person's like, this is the same game, and an Overwatch player is like, this is a very different game. But you look at CS, their gameplay is so hallowed that I don't think they should even change it. I think CS2 might just be a legitimate graphical update with a server update, matchmaking update, fix their ranked, fix all the extraneous stuff around the game, because the core gameplay is solid. Like, they actually don't need to touch that. Like, I almost think if they change the gameplay, it'll make the game worse, or like have the risk of making the game worse. So it should just be the reverse of Overwatch 2, where like leave the gameplay alone and just do the other stuff.
I don't know how much the Source engine though is going to impact that gameplay though, right? So.
Yeah. Just change the guns as well. I think if they updated the gun names to like more modern guns and stuff like that, I think that'd be a cool thing. And like, but like, don't change the core gun gameplay, right? Like, you should still have an M4. You should, just change the name. Like, you know, like just well, like I think it's
Anthem changes that.
but it's like just update it like across the board. I agree. Don't change any core fundamental gameplay. It hasn't been broken for what? How long has CS been around at this point? Like 25 years. It hasn't been broken for 25 years.
It just
don't
works.
change it now, right? It just works. It's a fun game. It's a fun casual mode. Just do it, make it everything better, and sort of like
I'll tell you
fill in a lot of the holes.
Shout out to Kazakhstan, by the way. Look at that bar. Look at that compare breakdown by region.
That's crazy.
Kazakhstan going crazy.
One of the criticisms of Counter-Strike compared to a game like Valorant is that it's hard to get into compared to a game like Valorant. So that's something that Valve need to fix if they want to really compete with Valorant, because it's got a way bigger learning curve.
And I think.
Go on.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, the reason we're bringing this up, like, if you're like, why are they talking about this? The reason this is important is this will have a pretty interesting effect on like esports as a whole, because CS has been a game that a lot of people have been moving away from with Valorant and that kind of stuff. I don't think it'll affect Overwatch that much, but like this game will be a big deal in the gaming space.
Will Baby Bay move again?
Well, he's originally a CS guy, and he got back. Didn't he get backhand?
Is he going full circle back to
like
CS?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, wait. What's the blue? What's top right
This
to the
is,
US? What blue state?
Maine.
Vermont.
No,
Maine and Vermont.
Johnny, that's your backyard.
Maine loves Valorant.
This is United States is all Valorant. This is crazy.
Except for Maine. Except for Maine.
Like 50-50, right? The most
Maine
of them
is
are
different.
50-50.
I mean, I don't know how this is calculated, but we trust Google Trends. But like, look at this chart. Like the past 12 months for Valorant versus Counter-Strike in the US. Pretty
I
big
mean,
difference.
you know,
This is
I
like
can
you know what?
75,
About that,
100, and Counter-Strike hovers around
Can
like
you
25.
throw Overwatch in there?
I don't want to.
yeah.
I don't want to.
Wait. No. Do it on the side. To put the cameras back on us.
Yeah,
do
see
it,
how
do it
bad
off
it is,
screen.
and then-
See how bad it is. And if
This
it's
is
good,
relative.
show everyone.
It's not a it's not a total score. It's
If
like,
it's good, show everyone. If it's bad, don't show it.
Yeah.
dude, this is a fucking live stream fails clip right here. Dude.
Really Overwatch.
No, just Overwatch, not Overwatch 2.
No, watch.
Oh, look at this
Oh,
man!
shit! Look at. Oh no, it's declining.
Oh god. Oh god. This is what happened, guys. This is what you did. We're,
Not bad,
Yeah,
not bad. Take away the
yeah.
2. Take away the 2. Just put Overwatch.
are you serious, bro?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man's doing math.
Why? We're about to fall off a cliff. Oh.
I fucking knew it. Dude, no one
Wow.
searches Overwatch 2. It's fucking Overwatch. No one
Yeah.
and also, you can put Overwatch and then space Rule 34. So, like, you got to
Oh, yeah.
you got to
true.
count that into the thing there, you know? You can't
This
put
is
Overwatch.
so
No one
Jack's
searches
trying to make this chart look like Mount Everest by putting Rule
Dude,
30.
this is insane.
Actually crazy, this peak here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because these
That was
are
Overwatch
relative
2's
scores.
launch, right?
The
Close to.
most searched for Overwatch is almost like, it's like 8 times more than Valorant, like, at that time. That is unbelievable. Like,
Show it by the state breakdown.
The
Want to know which
state
states love
breakdown.
Overwatch? Yeah, no, go down, scroll down.
California. What is going on?
Kansas. Let's go. Wait, yeah, where is California?
oh,
wait,
interest
I
from
knew it.
Counter-Strike.
California
This is
is
from
red.
Counter-Strike.
Oh, okay.
Overwatch.
No, Overwatch is orange.
Wyoming.
Miss Kentucky.
Yo.
Yeah.
Shout out those
So dumb.
states.
This is
Shout out
so
to
dumb.
Wyoming. Why don't we have a franchise from Wyoming? Look, interest
Yeah,
is so
clearly
high.
there's interest there.
Someone said it's 7 times more. Look, man, I 8 is almost 7. If we're doing on the spot math, I was pretty close. All right. I was-
Johnny's just throwing misinformation out left and right. This
are you talking-
podcast.
Oh my god.
Hey, this study that I read somewhere, I don't fucking know where.
Wow.
I mean, honestly,
Pretty impressive, to be honest.
quite impressive. Again,
I thought it was going to be a disaster. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why I'm in Stoomer.
know.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, stop doomering.
Yeah, I need to stop dooming. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, one thing I'll add is, like, I don't know if you guys saw some of the highlights from the French tournament. The French Overwatch community, they organized a
You talking
tournament
about
with some
Overwatch
of the
now?
countries. Yeah, I'm talking about Overwatch. They organized.
Okay, well, it was a good half an hour little
Yeah.
little tirade. I'm happy with that.
And they
Yeah.
organized an Overwatch tournament inviting some of the different European countries. Denmark ended up winning with Shockwave, Kelex, Doge, a few others. And some of the highlights were actually really pog, like just hearing the commentators and like the fans, like the French fans have, historically always been fantastic Overwatch fans. And so, it was really cool to see that happen. It's a bit sad that it's Vegas Eternal now, and we'll get to them later, because like Paris, genuinely, even some of the earlier events in 2019, like the fan events and stuff, like they are one of the most passionate countries in Overwatch esports, and now they don't. We don't cater to that.
Yeah, but if they
Contender South America, it's like not happening. Meanwhile, like Valorant has Brazil crowd just popping off, and like I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
if Eternal stayed in Paris, I think they would have underserved the French fans anyway. So maybe it's better they don't. You know what I mean?
Don't give them hope.
I'm just saying, like I feel like we're missing out. I feel like we're missing out. Like like almost like giving reason for some of the best fan bases in Overwatch to like support and like participate in the scene. But
Was there any initial push in like the LATAM regions for Overwatch 2, or you can even say Overwatch 1? I don't. Obviously,
Do we even
we're
have
quite
servers there?
separated from like LATAM, I'd say, the community in that lot. So I'm not sure. I don't know if there was like a giant push.
There was in the early years of Overwatch. I know that they were trying to like cultivate the game there, and like there was a lot of support given. But I'm pretty sure Overwatch in
servers
general
down,
is
right?
dead in South America. Why do I think they did shut the servers down?
No, I'm pretty sure they shut the servers down.
Let's figure out.
I'm
because
pretty sure they did.
Yeah, because like it was a whole. Because I remember like asking like, "Oh, we're gonna get LATAM back, and what's the deal with South America?" And it's just the conversation always gets dragged towards like, "Oh, I don't know if we have the infrastructure there." Blah blah blah. I'm paraphrasing. In fact, you know what? We're gonna retract that and say I made it up because I don't want to get in trouble.
Once again,
Or anyone in
spreading
trouble.
misinformation.
So
Dude,
I'm
we are
just
dominating this podcast.
whether it's true or not, I'm just gonna say I'm spreading misinformation just in case I'm getting anyone in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw it up on the screen, but Valorant has like a 3-4, 4-1 ratio over Overwatch in South America, generally speaking. So
That-
you know,
it's
it's
definitely
usually the most
right.
popular game.
Also,
Yeah.
LATAM as well were like big CS heads anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes sense why Valorant is a more popular game there, right? It's
Yeah.
not like too surprising, I'd say. And obviously infrastructure helps, right? Actually setting up servers and shit.
I am FOMOing a bit about live events and like crowds and stuff like that. I'm like, oh god, we had that for the playoffs,
Yeah.
but like if we could have that a bit more. please,
I'm
that'd
assuming
be
after the Valorant event, right? I looked at that crowd, I was
great.
like, God damn.
Yeah, that was pretty
It was
lit.
so sick. But then I just remembered like, holy shit, the crowd at finals was whack. Like everybody was going crazy. Not whack in a bad way, but like whacking like holy shit. Everybody was going fucking just ridiculous. Especially that finals, which is obviously the best finals we've had ever.
Yeah.
Or one of the best.
Mm-hmm. It was the best finals ever. Definitively
All the
the
way.
best finals. Yeah. All right. Anyway, sorry. I've been prolonging this intro / conversation way too long. Let's actually get into some news and some of the fun stuff going on in Overwatch. For example, we're finally getting into more of the One Punch Man stuff. Classic Plat chat here. We have scheduled our podcast at the same time that Blizzard Entertainment have scheduled their Twitter space where they announced the event. So, you know, in about 15 minutes, we'll probably drop half our viewership because people will listen to what the fuck's going on with One Punch Man. I don't blame you. So yeah, tomorrow, March 7th, that is today, going through April 6th, you'll be able to collect all new skins celebrating One Punch Man characters and take part in our One Punch Man event challenges. You can have cool rewards, including an exclusive free legendary Moomin Rider Soldier 76 skin.
Free skin.
Free skins, yeah.
Dog Chan.
Is that it?
Some of the
This
coolest
Is this
skins,
Soldier?
Bro. That is Soldier. The Genji skin is sick. I will say.
Yeah.
The Genji skin is
Sorry, I can't work up image. Here we go. Yeah, so this is Genji skin. We got the Kiriko skin announced a few days ago. People rioted, rioted in a good way. Celebrated? I don't know what the word is. For this skin. Doomfist, of course. And we got Soldier 76. What do we think here? 1 to 10. We're going to rank all 4 of them. Starting with the Genji. Jaws, you really like the Genji. What do you think? 1 to 10?
10. 10.
10?
No,
Good.
the face is.
Good.
I'm not in love with the face. I like the idea of it.
Plays the anime character. What do you mean?
No, I don't think it fits like perfectly. Like if you pull up like.
Can we define what 10
It's
is?
supposed to look
Yeah.
like Genji.
What's
It's like it's supposed to be a
what's an
half and
example of
half,
a
right?
10 skin, like a legitimate 10 skin?
A
Like,
10
I-
skin?
Lego Bastion.
like-
Yes, actually, that's a good skin.
Do we
Why did
think
they give him the proper hair, like of like Genos hair, like the where he has like it goes like the anime hair, like where it goes all the way around his head? Like why did they cut him
Genji's
and
fast.
just?
He dashes, bro. You think that hair's gonna stick up? Ain't no hair gel in the world, not even in the Overwatch universe, is gonna stick that hair up when he dashes.
I'm going 6.
Six?
That is a disgustingly low score.
Hey, we gotta be realistic,
I mean-
okay? We can't just
I'm
sit
being
there. We can't just
realistic,
yell
okay,
10 every
10.
time they pump
All right.
something out, okay?
All right.
It needs to be better.
if
You want to go, Ever?
if Cyber Demon Genji is 10, do we agree that's a 10?
That's a 10.
It's a mythic.
That's
Yeah.
a 10.
Okay, that's a
Okay,
10.
fine. If that's a 10, 9. Sorry. I
Yeah,
should've
there
known.
we go. Now
Whoa. Okay, I don't know about 9. I'll give it 8.
8?
I think it's a good skin.
Perfect. I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a
There
7.
we go.
I actually
Wow.
kind of like that there's a skin, like a Genji skin, where he's a bit more relaxed and like he's got pants on and, you know, like pretty cool shoes and, you know, he got some, the lava, like,
I don't know why that was funny. He's
I
got
don't know
pants
why
on.
it's funny.
He's
I know,
not
it's
saying.
just like,
he's not in a
He's
He's
cyborg
finally got
suit,
pants on.
just like some, yeah, I don't know. It just looks casual. Casual in a great way with some cool, like, lava effects. I don't know.
Like the casual Hangzhou skin.
Here's my thing. I think my problem with this skin is that if this just showed up in the game and I saw this skin, I would have not have instantly thought that it's Genos from One Punch Man. Like that would not be my first assumption. And that is my problem with collaboration.
Well,
like,
the other three, I think are very obvious. I actually, now that you say that, I kind of agree. If I see that
should have
Genji
made that
skin,
the YouTube title. Custa's problem with the One Punch Man collaboration.
Oh,
boom, there we go, viewers.
the clicks.
But like, I understand that they don't want to change the models, and I don't think they should, because that's how Overwatch is. They don't change the models, but like, it's just like the simple things of like the face and the head is something that I feel like they should have complete free reign over because of it. But it feels like they've just tried to adjust the old Genji skin, right? Whichever one, the one where he has the headband and like the green hair, like they've just tried to adjust that to make it look more like Genos rather than it actually being Genos.
So explain to even audio listeners, what does the original character look like? Do they not have hair?
Can you pull up a picture of Genos? Like just type in GENOS One Punch Man.
so many
And so
different
that's why I said
versions of
audio
it as well.
listeners, because I didn't want to do this, but now I guess I'll have to do this.
Well, it's like
How do you
I don't
spell
know
it?
how to like
Describe the
explain
character, right?
what someone looks like, because it kind of looks like
Describe it as if you were like an Audible author.
Oh,
You were reading
I
out an
see.
ebook.
Yeah, this would have been doable. Surely.
Yeah, like the hair is just like that's if they did that hair, I think it would have been completely looked like him, because he has the arms, he has everything going for him. I like the eyes, but it's just the hair, and I feel like I don't understand why they didn't
Here we
do
go.
that.
I'll try. Zoomerish blonde hair flowing down.
Oh, look at
Bright
this.
cyborg eyes.
Perfect.
Ryan Wilson in the chat providing some insight. Overwatch art director, I'm just trusting that this is an actual quote. You could have made this up, Ryan. Hair was a challenge. The closer we matched the style, the more we lost Genji in the process. We were careful to combine the two heroes' main aesthetics without losing either character in the process. So it was obviously
That's fair enough, actually.
a difficulty for them trying to make it perfect.
But do you need to make it? Oh, I guess they want someone to be able to look at it and instantly think Genji. I guess maybe that's the idea, that like in game, if you see the
come on, come on.
But like maybe like that, I can understand that being the problem of like you. This has actually been an issue that I've had recently, and I think Jack, we played together and we had the same thinking. The new Mythic Kiriko skin, if you wear it like all white, it actually looks like a Moira skin. I thought I was chasing down a Moira and it was a Kiriko, and like that's actually an issue that has happened recently.
Dress.
Yeah,
like it's not the is it a jacket, a dress? I don't fucking know, but it's because Moira has the default. Moira has like it's like a lab coat, right? Yeah. So like the tails of the lab coat do look like the tails of the Kiriko like jacket or whatever the fuck you is it a kimono still? I don't really know, to be honest with you. But yeah, anyway, like the top, I'd say is it looks kind of like Moira, especially if Moira has like the white Moira skin on, or like the lighter colored Moira, like the moon one. And I've spoke about this in the previous episodes, but like the silhouette of a character is like very important to identify, and like with Overwatch they do a very good job of doing that. You can instantly identify every single character almost, right? Even their skins with if you turn the lights out and it was just their silhouette. But where they blur the lines, that gets a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure if it will happen with this Kiri skin, to be honest with you, but could be wrong. I think it's just because Moira has the lab coat, and then Kiri also has the kind of long garments.
All right,
down,
Let's move on to the Kiriko skin here. I'm gonna be honest. I'll start us off. If I saw this in the store, I'd be like, what the fuck happened? Is this a bug? Like, where did the pants go?
No, look at the leg to body ratio right there.
Absurd. I think this skin. Obviously, I don't watch the anime, so I have no idea about One Punch Man. If I saw this skin in the store, don't like the hair either. I'd give this a 3.
People love this skin, Johnny. This is an important, and I think it's just because of the amount of leg ratio that we're getting. But people love this skin. I think here's the thing. They have the same issue.
People need to get in order, okay? We can't just lose it about legs.
Johnny, don't take this thirstiness away from people, okay? This is what we have on the internet, and we need to run with it. We talked about how Rule 34 is carrying Overwatch, and it needs to do it again. So I'm going to bump this up to like a 7.
How dare
I'm bumping this up to a 7. Even though it makes no sense that this is a small child with like green hair, it gets a 7 just because of the leg ratio.
Holy, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Welcome to the future, old man.
I think like based on accuracy to character, it's like maybe even a 9 for me. But based on like how good as a Kiriko skin in a vacuum, it's actually not very innovative, because it's I've seen someone say it's almost a reskin of like her base skin as well, because all the if you actually look at it, it's all the same material. She's basically wearing her normal clothing from her default skin. It's just all colored black with a lot of legs showing and the green hair. So it's pretty boring in a vacuum, but it's pretty accurate to the character. So I don't know. I'm kind of on a fence on this one a little bit.
Dude, people are like, oh, you know, I don't even know like what adjective you would use to describe the legs. People like the legs. I don't know. It's not cool. Is it pretty? I don't know what it is. Like the body ratio looks like something you make in fucking Spore. Like it's just off. It's just the ratio. It's just terrible. Like,
it's just anime. It's just anime ratios. It's just how it is.
Just look at the model. It's just like there's so much leg and so little upper body. It's absurd.
But that is like what her character is, like in the anime. So that's sort of the thing. It's like I see where you're coming from, Johnny. Of like it feels lazy, but that's literally what her character is. Like you couldn't add more details to her without moving away from the character.
Wait,
Johnny,
Kiriko or the anime character?
The anime character.
Johnny, one of Doom's fists is much bigger than the other one. It just, you know what? It's just ruined for me.
Yeah.
Ruined.
What?
Look,
what are you talking about?
Twitter. Horny Twitter, I stand with you. This skin is a fucking 10.
No, Johnny, Jack, you can't just say everything's a 10.
I didn't say no. I withdrew a point on Genji's.
Oh,
I withdrew a point.
God.
I said 9, but Horny Twitter, I stand with you. The Kiri skin is a 10. Body to leg ratio, be damned. It doesn't matter.
Okay, can we actually separate the two groups? Okay, you guys are talking about some kind of like horny community. There's generally people who love the anime. There's people who love the collaboration, who love the anime.
It's not even a separation. The Overwatch community and the horny community are the same thing.
They are. Oh, we are. Johnny, you need to accept it that we are the horny community just by association.
I need to save this community. I need to save
you
the
can't
people.
save us.
I need to save them. They are lost.
One bonk at a
They are
time.
lost in the sauce.
Johnny is going to save
I need
it.
to bonk it out of them.
Not happening. Sorry, brother.
I need to roam the lands of arcade and just convert people to I don't know what. This got off the rails. Anyway, 1 to 10. I said 3. Jaw said 10.
Yep.
Custa.
I'm gonna give it a 7. I agree that it feels kind of lazy, but I feel like it's just like that's the way that the character is. So
Avril.
I'm giving it points.
I'll give it. I'm gonna go based on accuracy of the character. We'll give it a 9. That's what I originally said. So I'll stay on that.
Yeah. All right. And for the purposes, like, okay, love the collaboration, guys. It's just not for me. The skin, just not for me. All right. It's a 3 for me. But if people buy the skin, great. Overwatch is successful. Great. All right. Moving on. Doomfist. Joss. Let's get your rating out of the way. What do you think? Doomfist, 1 to 10.
Why do you want to get me out of the way?
Because I know
you're going to call it a 10 before anything happens.
You're predictable.
You don't value my opinion. All right, then. Guess my score, Johnny. Guess it.
9.
10.
Oh, that's a good guess, actually. That's
9.5.
I like that. It's closer to Scott's, honestly. Yeah, you know what? Doomfist, he is like the perfect character to embody One Punch Man. He punches. 9.5. 9.5. I like it.
But okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in because this is the meme going around. You mean like multiple punch man? Doomfist. Oh, you can't kill people in one punch anymore. But like, the character is obviously going to be the One Punch Man. It is just kind of like Doomfist is doing a cosplay of Saitama. But I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I'm going to give it a 9.
Good.
If Shock's Thunder skin is 10 out of 10. I'm gonna go 7. It's just a little boring, but the original design of Saitama's look is just a little bit boring. So there's not much they can do with it. It just is what it is. Like I don't know. It's very accurate to character. If it's accurate, maybe I should give it 10 out of 10 just because of accuracy to character. Because that's what I did for the Kiriko skin. But I don't know. It's a little boring. It's hard for me to say 10 when like the Thunder skin from Shock is just unreasonably good.
What? Avril, whoa. Okay, I'm gonna say that the accuracy of this Saitama skin is almost better than the Kiriko
okay, 11
one.
out of 10.
Is the Kiriko legs swaying you? Just so Johnny can be aware, is it the legs that have
it was 2 extra points. I said 9 for Kiriko's one. It was meant to be 7, but the 2 extra legs points got me.
Okay,
this is not a 10, Avril.
That skin is
a cool
bro.
Skin. That is a cool skin.
No, this is a 10.
Skin.
This is a fucking 10.
That's a 10.
That's a cool
skin. That is a
10.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a 10.
Easily.
That's a cool skin.
One of the best skins in the entire game.
It's just got so much to it.
In fact, this skin is so good, I probably won't even equip the Saitama skin, even though it's not a bad skin. Just the Thunder skin's too good. The Thunder skin is way too good to ever unequip.
I'm not going to give my opinion.
Okay.
Oh, dude, Johnny's off the group.
What the fuck? You can't
we're disregarding every point system
Send
that
your
Johnny
shock
does
jersey
after
back
this.
to Corey. You don't need it.
This One Punch Man collab, this skin is a 10. All right. If you equipped it on day one, awesome. If you rock this Doomfist skin 3 years from now in freaking 2026, I'd be like, cool. They're rocking the One Punch Man Doomfist skin. This Doomfist skin is eternal. You could wear it for the rest of Overwatch lifetime, and it'd be a legitimately awesome skin. It's unique, it's cool, it's special, it's a collab skin with clear reference. I just love everything about it. It's perfect.
Yep.
Doomfist skin, I'll swap around a little bit. You know, sometimes I like the Ice Doomfist skin, sometimes the Thunder, sometimes, you know, a little bit here and there.
The question I have is, so if you don't buy it in this month, are these skins going to be like it where you can just never buy it again? Because in 5 years, it will be really cool to show up with the One Punch Man skin.
That's a John Spector question.
Yeah, so
he'll put it in the anime vault. You know how we have an Overwatch League vault? He'll put it in an anime vault. We're going to get a new vault.
And we can just get like Jujutsu Kaisen next. Okay, yeah, I'm in.
Oh, dude, Demon Slayer stuff.
As much as I've always agreed on you at that point, Custa, I think for these collab skins, I think it'd be so bad from Blizzard if no one was just like, guys, what if we sold the One Punch Man skin again? What like they're just, it'd be such a stream of revenue that I don't think you could like morally justify like, oh, we're never unlocking it ever again. Like,
maybe like once a year or something like that.
What's really interesting about that point actually is that Dead by Daylight had the same thing where they had Stranger Things in the game for a long time. Like you could buy the Demogorgon and stuff, but the licensing rights ended up running out and they didn't renew them. So they've had to take out the Stranger Things, or at least not take out from the game, but like remove it from being
from the store.
From the store, yeah.
So I'm curious if, like, and how long this kind of collaboration like contract is for. And obviously bringing it back is like a cool idea, but it will depend on the actual like licensing agreement between Blizzard and the One Punch Man creators, whether it's for like a specific amount of time. Like there is a date. I can't remember the date off by hand. Obviously it starts today and then it ends in like whenever the fuck, maybe a month and a half.
I think it's April 6th.
April 6th then. I wonder if the licensing agreement is only up until then, or it's going to be, it's going to continue on for a few years, and they're going to then, maybe it is an anime vault, then bring them back once upon a time, which would be cool, I think. I would hope that you can purchase this later, like way in the distant future, and if they bring them back, like, oh, surprise, we brought them back, like the Overwatch League skins do. But it will depend on like the licensing agreements between the two companies, which obviously none of us are privy to, and I would like to know. But yeah,
it's pretty interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know board business like that.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, it would be cool if there was a new season of One Punch Man or something that like, hey, we're putting this on sale because something's going on, something happening.
Well, the new season comes out soon, right?
The next after is like
season 4,
whenever One Punch Man is like in the media, like when it's popular, like that's when you like try to push it again. Anyway, moving on. Soldier 76 skin.
10. You
think this Soldier skin is a 10?
Movement Rider, dude. This skin is, Movement Rider is by far the best character in One Punch Man, and it like perfectly encapsulates Soldier. I think it's so goofy and funny. It's 100% a 10. I would give it higher than a 10 if I could.
I would only give it a 10 with the Justice Crash intro, which I think they've also got as well, a highlight intro. Without it, I think it's more like a 6. It's just kind of boring, but like, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. How dare you talk about Movement Rider like that?
But with the
give it
highlight,
a 9. I like the beanie. I think 9 for me. Because I think I prefer
a helmet?
the other skins.
A bicycle helmet?
This is literally.
It is a bicycle helmet. For any context of anyone who hasn't watched One Punch Man, he lives in a world full of superheroes, and this guy just rides a bike and he tries to be a superhero. That's all he does.
No superpowers.
He has no superpowers. He just rolls up on a bike trying to help. And
not a motorbike, a bicycle.
Just a bicycle. He's fucking Movement Rider, bro. It's fucking the best. Movement Rider. Like, as I agree, the skin is like, just if you're looking at it and you're like, how cool is this? it's not that high, but the context of it, I think, is perfect, and that's why it's a 10 out of 10.
It's between these 4 skins, it's the most divisive YouTube chat has been, because people who love the anime are just like 10 is amazing, and then I see like -8, 0. It's just people like, what is this? It's literally just like black clothes with a green helmet. What's going on? So that's great. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get it, but actually that context makes me like the skin even more. I'm looking forward to see this skin in action with Soldier 76 original voice, because that's might not go together.
Well, if they have Moomin Riders like voice lines attached to it, I'll pay all my money. They can have it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
That'd be
Do we get a rating from everyone on this last one?
9 for me.
9. I mean, I don't know the anime, so I'll give it like I'll never equip this skin ever, but I'm glad you guys like it. There you go.
I got one more. Go on Discord, Johnny. Throw this up on stream real quick.
Oh, what is this?
What is...
You want to? No, it's good. It's good. It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. 100% worth.
It's loading.
Throw it on there for me.
Wow. Huh?
It's good. Sigma is all leg though.
That is true. This checks out. I'm just sad at the lack of toes in this one. So it's a 6 for me with no toes.
In those stilettos though.
Those quads. I mean, as someone who goes to the gym, I respect those legs. Sigma's been working out. You know, looking good. All right. So yeah, I mean, they're live right now, so they're probably going to announce the event details. We don't know what's going to entail, but if you find out what the event is about, drop it in the YouTube chat. But we got to move on.
There is a list of stuff on that page, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It says like the amount of game played, you unlock like the new skins and all the stuff like that, like name cards and victory poses and all that.
Oh, was there a new game mode? Sorry,
they're releasing world premiere reveal trailer. Oh, I wonder if that's out now then. I wonder if I can go watch this.
Oh, it's
One
one
Punch
part.
Man. Oh, Jesus Christ. I just blew everyone's ears who's watching the stream.
So there is a video?
Collaboration
Live reaction?
trailer. Yeah, so, okay. Here we go. So,
Yeah, I'm trying this patch,
you guys won't be able to hear this, but for the people who are watching the stream...
Oh, we're a react channel now? Okay.
No audio
It's just a
reaction.
minute.
Ready to pog.
Oh, so it's the One Punch Man theme?
I can't hear the
limited
music.
time.
Yeah, you
collab.
guys can't hear it, but... I would think this is the One Punch Man intro.
I would say
But
it's
the
probably a
original
limited
music.
time. Yo, Movement Rider!
Ready for a knockout?
Show me the highlight intro, surely. Here it is, here it is.
Yes!
Just a crash.
Oh, it's so good!
That's the highlight intro, right? It has to be. That's
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Just this crash.
Man, that's...
This is really cool, guys.
That's from the anime. I love that.
Really good.
Yeah, that's good. That's sick.
So by the wording there, limited time event, I don't think they're going to be available after.
I think they're going to be like, and you know, we've talked about this in the past as much as it sucks for people. I think making these types of events limited time only, it only leads to more sales because people are
Yeah,
going to buy
you got to
it.
capitalize the FOMO.
Yeah, you need FOMO because once people start realizing if you don't buy it now, then you're going to miss out. You know, people are going to spend more. Like just the way our silly brains work.
That was actually really good. That got me like really high.
Johnny's about to buy all these skins now. Johnny went from they all kind of sucked. Now I need them all.
I didn't say they suck. No, I did not.
you said something like that, bro.
Free.
The Kiriko skin, I don't get it. But I just got happy because I was like, oh, Overwatch, like we're doing cool stuff. This is amazing, and I just felt a little warm and fuzzy. That's all. I loved it. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a really cool trailer, and the bike as well. It just feels like the devs are loving it. You know, we're just doing cool stuff. The community loves it. It's good vibes. I love having good vibes, but
Good vibes.
good vibes. But we gotta move on here. We got a pretty big show today, so I should have done a better job moving us along. But this was a pretty
Oh
cool
shit,
thing.
we've already done
We
an
haven't
hour.
even started talking about Owl yet.
Jesus.
We're an hour in.
Well, here we fucking go, guys. Dallas Fuel, they're moving to APAC.
Damn.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
Yeah. The wording that Hastro uses in this video is actually quite interesting because it feels like the way that Hastro is framing it is that because of the uncertainty of the league with what happened in the East and the future of it, it kind of sounds like this is a temporary move to Korea just because they're like, well, we don't really know what's going to happen. Our players wanted to play out of Korea because they're a Korean team, like through and true. So they're just going to do that for this year. But that sort of makes me uncomfortable because, as a lot of people have said as well, Dallas Fuel are probably the biggest investors in the Overwatch League since the beginning of time. They've run the most homestands. They've invested the most. They've actually cultivated a great community and fan base in Dallas, and that's why a lot of people support them. And just off of the cuff of winning a championship, it's pretty surprising seeing them move to the APAC region.
I would not be surprised if we don't see like any homestands this upcoming year. And you know, if the league want to organize stuff, you know, tournaments, stuff like that, but like Dallas would put on events last year, like by their own like accord, like their own willingness, like they wanted to put it on for the fans, stuff like that. Battle for Texas, stuff like that. Not sure we're gonna see a lot of that stuff. Obviously, like the financial climate and everything, hard to get that kind of money to put those events on. But without Dallas Fuel in the Western region, it's gonna feel like an online churn all of the season. And that worries me because, you know, as we've learned, like events are so cool to have in person, stuff like that. So, I mean, huge loss for the Western region. Like all the fans, you know, come to love Dallas Fuel and invested so much of their time. And like the amount of people who are just like Dallas Fuel fans and are like, I'm never going to watch a live game ever again. Like I can't wake up at 4 a.m. to watch my favorite team play in the APAC region. And this is what the Philadelphia fans went through as well.
Last 2 years.
Yeah, it's brutal, and so you know you're hemorrhaging like part of the Overwatch League fan base by making them disinterested or like demotivated to follow the league and making it harder for them to follow the league and cheer for their favorite teams. So it's brutal. I mean, I there's no solution. This is what Dallas Fuel decided to do, but it's brutal.
Can I just quickly point something out? Sorry, I know we're into this this topic right now. I just logged into Overwatch to see like One Punch Man and shit. The shop has crashed. The shop has crashed, and I go into the Overwatch League section and see the skins. It's a huge blank page, and then Seoul Infernal has the Philadelphia Fusion logo, and it looks very funny.
Are you on the website or is this inside the game?
That was in game. Like
New skins went live.
Yeah. Because that's like
the
that
Seoul
was the whole
Infernal
push,
skins.
right? Yeah.
I click on their thing. There's no skins there because the shop is just fucked.
Wow.
And the Seoul Infernal is like red and shit, and then it's got the Philadelphia Fusion.
This is going to sell like the best sales we've ever had in skins. But
yeah.
Sorry,
I know I derailed us a little bit there. I just thought it was kind of funny. But
I'll talk about Dallas for a sec. So this seems like a very difficult situation for them because they are clearly caught in between a rock and a hard place, and I think it's doubly shocking because they are also the current championship team. You know, they're the defending champions. They just won the Overwatch League. How are they the team? This is coming from the fan perspective, in terms of their questions. How is this the team that is kind of, I wouldn't say they lost their roster. They've certainly lost some key piece of their roster. Their support duo, they lost Fearless as well. So damn near 50% of the core roster's gone. And they're switching regions as well. It's like it's quite a lot to take in for the Dallas Fuel fans. So I fully understand that perspective. But from the org side, it's like, what do you do if you're Tasmo and Hastro? Because your players, because here's the problem with winning the league. Winning the league is all great. It's fantastic. It's what you want. It's the entire reason you should be in the league in any sport is you want to win. However, once you win, especially with the contracts coming to an end, you know, multiple players renegotiating, well, they're world championships players now. They just won. They're championship players, so they want more money. Every player is like, well, I got to get more salary now because I just won the world championship for you guys, which is fair enough. I mean, that's typically what happens when you have a world championship team. The cost of running that team is going to go up because everybody's worth more now, and they're worth more not just because the players think they're worth more, but because other teams are willing to pay that. For example, Atlanta are willing to pay whatever it is they're willing to pay to get both Chio and Fielder. Houston as well, which we know that this year they're investing a lot into their team. Not to get a huge roster, but the individual quality of players in the roster extremely high. So getting Fearless out of Fuel to join Houston, I mean, they're willing to pay whatever that price that Fearless wanted was. So you have a situation where we also know that Optic, which is they own the Dallas Fuel. They've had massive layoffs. The esports industry discussion that we had last week, super relevant for Optic and the Dallas Fuel as well, where it's just like, you know, everyone's kind of losing money. Everyone's just kind of trying to slow down the bleeding of the money loss. We talked about the fact that Dallas have been huge investors so far in terms of the Overwatch League, not just in events, but putting these rosters together. You know, even in the losing years, Scott remembers, you know, there was massive numbers of players. So I just threw you in there.
No, you
like how many players on the team when you were there? Like 10 people, almost 12?
Well, like we started the season with like 10 players, and then we added Seagull, AKM, OG throughout the season.
The point is like even in the losing years, Dallas has had like massive rosters, huge players, and then they cut down on the player size, called the team size. But now you've got the Element Mystic guys with Rush, and you know that comes from Paris, who they sold those guys for a pretty penny. So the point is Dallas has spent a lot of money, so it doesn't surprise me that, you know, at some point you're 5-6 years deep, you're like, we're going to reassess this. We've had layoffs, the money situation in esports doesn't look great, and on top of that, you're in a situation where you're talking to your players to try and keep the team together, and your players like, we want to play out of Korea. I mean, that's, you know, what one of the things that happened behind the scenes in the off season was to try and keep the team together. You know, Dallas were looking at options. One of the options was, what if we move the team to Korea? That worked for some of the players. It didn't work for other players. You still value getting a higher salary if you're Cheer Fielder, I guess, or Fearless. And I truly think that if Dallas didn't move to APAC, if they didn't move back to Korea for these players, then they would have had to do a full rebuild. I'm pretty sure, I mean, this is my own personal speculation, pretty sure Harbin, Sparkle, Rush, Edison, etc. probably would have dipped if they either weren't going to get a competitive enough salary based on what they felt like they were worth based on the fact that they won the championship, or they weren't going to be able to go back to Korea. And so Dallas Fuel had to they had to pivot in one direction or the other, and they decided to go back to Korea. So this is what they decided to go to Korea for the sake of the players. And, you know, this is it. So, I mean, they could have, I guess, not gone to Korea and completely rebuilt the roster, but then you have to ask the fans, it's like, what do you really want? If you're a Dallas Fuel fan, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to keep the Dallas team in Dallas, but it's a full new roster? You can 100% lose your championship roster now, or you keep a good portion of your championship roster with Rush, but now they're in Korea. Those are two options.
You chose the right one out of those two, right? I mean, keeping half the roster, because I think that's what a lot of teams and a lot of, I'd say fans too. Sometimes I feel like sometimes we have a good pulse. We keep on the pulse of how the fans feel. Sometimes we don't, but I think in general, most fans, I'd say, myself included, would rather see a team keep their roster, at least half of their roster, maybe a couple of bits and pieces from the last season, and move it on to the next season. Because we've had it plenty of seasons where, like, Toronto Defiant's a good example. This year, I really liked the Toronto Defiant last year. As much as they, you know, they kind of blew towards the end, they were middle of the pack, etc. They did really well at their own homestand. I really like a lot of their players on that roster. Now they've got a completely American tornado. It's like, oh man, like, I really like Twilight. I'm probably going to follow Twilight to whatever team he goes to at the end of the day. So I think as a fan, at least from my perspective, I'd much rather have like a team keep half their roster and move regions than
The Reddit thread was 50-50.
Complete rebuild.
Anecdotally, it seemed pretty 50-50. Some of the fans are like, no, I'd rather they rebuild. I want them to be in Dallas so I can not have to wake up at 4 a.m. And the other half is like, well, I want to keep the players.
But are we sure it has like exactly like they're doing this just because of the rosters? If anything, for me, this is a big fear of the homestand model as a whole, right? And I think, you know, people existing out of their home cities, yes, it's good for the fan base, but we literally have the most successful team who has been able to actually sort of leverage, you know, being in Dallas and all that kind of stuff, and they're the ones moving away from it. Probably very expensive to run. And, you know, Dallas had a pretty good deal with the Arlington Esports Arena that they had.
They owned it.
They own it. So it's very easy for them to run events. And even now they're like, well, we don't want to run events anymore. Or maybe the league isn't able to run events anymore. We don't really have the context of the whole story. But
Scott, I think it's actually cheaper for them to stay in Dallas because they already have infrastructure in Dallas. They would have to pay for infrastructure in Seoul and Korea. hypothetically, if they were to rebuild a roster, they could probably build a cheaper roster as well, to the dismay of
I don't know
fans.
the answer to that, if I'm being honest, of like what's actually cheaper and what isn't. Like it
think-
probably is a combination of both of our points. Let's be honest. Like it's probably not just the expense of the roster that is like the number one thing that is making them move to Korea. I wouldn't say, but
I'm saying it's because they want to hold on to the roster, and the roster is saying they want to be in Korea.
Yeah,
That's at least Hastra alluded to that in his tweet. He made a tweet about that.
and I think we can all agree that like if you simply like approach this move from a competitive standpoint, it was absolutely the right decision for the Dallas Fuel, keeping this championship roster together with a few missing parts, of course. It's just so much the superior option compared to like rebuilding or like trying to put a new team together with a few different pieces, picking up a whole team even. Like this is absolutely the best competitive move that Dallas Fuel could have made to still be great next year or this year. I think like where my hesitation comes from is just like, is this good for the league? And I don't think this is good for the fan base of Overwatch League, for the viewership of Overwatch League, moving like this. But if you want to like talk about Dallas Fuel, and you know, I don't know how much this was like Hastro versus like Tasmo, who's the general manager, you know, obviously like pretty close with those guys, but like they definitely made the right choice when it comes to competitiveness. And like they're going to go to APAC, and given like some of the budgetary restrictions for some of these APAC teams, probably going to dominate, do fantastically well, be successful this season because they kept this roster together. And moving to Korea definitely like helps them keep that roster together and keep their players happy. So from a competitive standpoint, it's a great move by Dallas. It just hurts me a little bit. It pains me a little bit, and I worry about the consequences of this move.
yeah, and like the long-term effects it'll have, because you know generally fans won't come back once they leave. You know, NA fans who aren't willing to watch APAC hours are probably going to go to a new NA team and start supporting them. And if this is a temporary thing and Dallas does end up coming to the West, I think you won't see them all come flooding back in some way. So you feel for Hastro. Hastro's been in love with like the Dallas Fuel, and he created everything that they've done. So I'm sure this wasn't an easy decision for them to do, because I'm sure they are aware of how much they're sort of betraying their fans in a way, who have been so loyal to them. But at the end of the day, if this is the right decision for them, it's the right decision for them.
It's a small. Let me make sure I get this right. It's it's a small thing, but even something like Mike's pinned tweet is still about winning the Overwatch League, considering the amount of teams this guy works with, considering the amount of esports he's invested with, considering like how you know how much he deals with in esports, and his personal life, his organization, his business life. The fact that his pinned tweet is still about the Overwatch League World Championship, I think that, you know, I might be reading into it too much, but I think it speaks a little bit volume about how much Mike really cared about winning this championship. And so yeah, and you know, I don't think he's just going to like 2-3 months of economic downturn. He's going to be like, well, Overwatch is not sustainable, not great. I don't care about Overwatch anymore. Like I still think Mike genuinely cares a lot about Overwatch. You know, even dating back to season 1 of Envy, winning Apex, right? There was 2 additional tweets that, you know, we don't have to we don't have to talk about it, but you know, because it kind of hits off last week's episode. But Mike did also tweet out afterwards, just like there's some real change needed in the business of esports, and most of it needs to happen at the game publisher level. Some individual leaders and staff at these big publishers get it, but there's some internal hive minds just can't get it right. And this was like I'm pretty sure this was like after the announcement as well. So obviously like some kind of subtweet here. So I just found it interesting that like, wow, like they really want help to be sustainable of some kind. But that just speaks to another esports CEO founder who like spoke out about some of the economic unsustainability of esports right now.
I'm going to add one last thing about Dallas here. One thing I want the fans to understand about the situation is that it is in no way comparable to the LA Valiant situation of them going to China, because that is more like Immortals trying to like offload, like, I don't give a fuck about Overwatch League. Get rid of it. I want to wash my hands of this and get rid of it. The Dallas Fuel situation is so different because they actually do care a lot about the Overwatch League and their team and the Dallas feel. And they, again, had their backs against the wall, and they were almost forced to make the decision that they felt was going to serve the team the best in terms of quality of the roster, which was what Scott was talking about. So while the result is the same in terms of they are both going to APAC, it's completely different in terms of intention.
Shit. I need to host while I'm trying to tweet as well. This is very difficult. Multitasking at the highest level, trying to generate engagement.
Quick, Scott, add something on to that.
No, Dallas, you know, I love Dallas, you know.
The Dallas Fuel would abandon me. But yeah, like I don't know. Like, yeah, I feel like we've sort of talked about it like so much, and it's been such a big thing in the community. Like, it's honestly, you know, talking about it from a competitive standpoint, I'm actually excited to see Dallas compete in the East. I think they've definitely bolstered and made the region a lot more interesting because it was looking kind of bleak there for a bit. But, you know, Dallas versus Hangzhou, that's definitely a match we're going to be lined up to see. It'll hopefully make APAC, you know, just a little bit more interesting. But yeah,
I figured it out. Actually, I figured it out.
Oh, wait, how to talk?
Yeah. All the teams that Scott has been on from NA have moved to APAC.
Am I the problem?
Wait, that's kind of true, actually.
Every team I've been on has crumbled. The Overwatch talent team.
I don't know that they've crumbled, but they've certainly moved.
I blame Scott for getting a $2 million a year salary every single team he's been on. It's kind of cringe. He's been the one that sucked the esports money hit dry, bro. Crazy.
Single-handedly ruined Overwatch esports.
All right. Moving on.
Tweet out?
I'm not even going to. But whatever.
Now I have to find out what you tweeted.
A freaking broadcast talent influencer podcast host. There's what a busy life. What a busy life we're living, guys. Oh, it's terrible. Well, if you're wondering about Avril's background and what he's cooking,
put it up full.
Put it up full.
Throw me up there.
All right, I can't do this. Yeah, there you go. Some interesting announcements. Going on. Where Hangzhou Spark, they finally announced. Was it 2 days ago? I think it was 2 days ago, actually. 2 nights ago.
Something like that, yeah.
They announced they're cooking. They're officially bringing together the former Overwatch League MVP Leave together with Shy. It's happening. It's happening, guys. Already one of the best damage duos of all time.
This is the only Overwatch collaboration I'm more excited about than the Saitama One Punch Man one.
Just take it away. Custa, you tweeted as well. It's finally happening. You're like an actual Hangzhou Spark simp at this point, right?
Yeah, well, I'm all on board. This is a great team as well because, like, obviously everyone's going to talk about like Leave and Shy. I don't even think we need to talk about it that much. You know, everyone realizes it's going to be absolutely freaking disgusting. Like, it's probably the best DPS duo in terms of just well-roundedness of just the two players. If Leave can get back to his 2021 MVP because he actually has a good team around him and he doesn't have to just sort of
doesn't have to flex,
play around Jinmu. Yeah, like, I think that's going to be great. This team is going to be awesome. Also, Elsa is back in the league. Elsa said that, you know, Elsa had one of his best seasons ever and then just retired mid-season because he's like, I don't care about Overwatch right now. I'll be back for Overwatch 2. And now he's back at full-on 20, rename, rebrand, and he's
Chinese person renaming.
Please.
What's going on?
Like, stop. Yveltal to Azernius and shit like that.
This is what Chinese players do.
He was Ninja from Fortnite, and then he was Elsa, and now he is 20. Like, please stop changing names.
Yeah, but yeah, this team's just gonna be sick. Like, I think they're well rounded. My only concern that I will add in here is Gushui is one of the best Winstons that in the world. He has not shown great flexibility onto other main tank heroes in the past, and we've sort of every time they've gone into those kind of metas, like Bernard picked up the ball for them last year, and we've just sort of been like, oh, Hangzhou Spark just suck. Like, he doesn't have that excuse anymore. And I think he's going to have to show more flexibility in the tank role.
Beyond that as well, like Elsa, aka 20, he's been out of the game for a while. I think he was still streaming Overwatch and, you know, playing it on the side, but not scrimming, not actively competing. So how good is 20 going to be in terms of holding up on the off-tank duties? Because that's super important. I mean, they're very much strong off-tank metas that could occur. We're talking about Zarya metas where you got to go up against Hanbin now, who's in your region, right? That's just super scary. Sigma metas as well. Even during Elsa's peak days, I don't know that he was elite enough on the off tank to really hold the candle. So while the rest of the team, you know, dude, if Hangzhou Spark get a dive meta with Winston, they're solid. This
over.
could be I think this is the best team in APAC. If they get a Winston meta,
God, yeah,
that's
you're
dive.
right.
It's finished. It's done. But if it's not a Winston meta, if it's a Sigma meta, if it's a Jungle Queen meta, like it probably won't be a Jungle Queen meta. But you know, if it's anything else, what's going to happen? Like I think you're right. I think that the tank line is the only thing that scares me a little bit. I'm not concerned about Gushui on something like Ryan. I think he's played enough of that. I think Ball has been one of his weaker heroes, despite that being something that he should have in his pool. I've had people sort of ask, like, oh, do you think Among should be on this team? I'm like, probably not, because he overlaps too much with Gushui, and teams right now don't want to have rosters bigger than 6 people. You also don't want to have the Boston Uprising situation with 3 different tanks in your roster. That's a bit ridiculous. You don't want to go there. If anything, they'd probably need a 3rd DPS or maybe another support, a flex support, just to cover that position as well. I think Lynx is an okay player, but he doesn't feel elite. It's clear that Ray just doesn't want to work with Xerneas / Yveltal anymore. They did the whole Nisha thing last year. It didn't go well for them. Clearly there's just the whole anime manga reading during scrims burnt bridge. That situation between Ray and Yveltal's just kind of, that's ended that possibility. So it seems like the 3rd best option, or the next best option, is, well, I guess you go Lynxa. But the talk of the town is Shy Leaf. I think this is the best duo in APAC and one of the top duos in the entire Overwatch League. I think Sparkle Edison, I got to be careful here. They are very much at risk of being hard gapped. Prophet might get gapped here as well, depending on who his duo is. I don't know that there's really enough elite hit scans left for Prophet to duo with that can really match Shy Leaf. Not that ranked is a good indicator, but there's been numerous clips of Shy POV showing up on Reddit recently where you're just watching how disgusting he is. And he's on ping as well. I think the China to Korea ping's like 70 or something like that. So these players are all on VPNs and whatnot, right? That's how they're playing. And Shy and Leave are just on crazy win streaks in ranked at the moment. Jonak actually made a video on his YouTube channel where he basically queued, he had Shy and Leave queue into his team multiple times, hard carrying games, and he's just, Jonak's in game just holding down tab, like, look at Leave scoreline. He hasn't died. He's on 17. Just shit like that. Just Shy and Leave terrorizing ranked as a duo right now. So, I mean, this is like a, you know, this is like a Kobe Shaq moment. They're just getting together about to dominate.
This is Kevin Durant coming to the Golden State Warriors. That's what it feels like to me. Of like,
whoa,
I'm pissed off, Johnny. I'm gonna stand by this. I'm gonna stand by this. I actually think this is Kevin Durant.
No.
Yes, I'm
gonna
stand by that.
Leave to the shock, and don't even try.
No. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay, you might be right, but no.
No,
but like, it's like one of the greatest players in the league. He literally was an MVP joining a team that was already looking like a super team, right? Like, I maybe I've overstated it, but Johnny, we're getting clicks here, okay? So I genuinely believe that this is like the coming together, and I genuinely don't know where to put the Hangzhou Spark now, because me and Avril talked about like the questions around like a little bit of the back line and the tank line, but their DPS duo might just clear and like carry them through 90% of their games. Like, I only think they will have an issue. You know, it depends on how many great teams end up in APAC, but they'll only really have an issue in the playoffs, in my opinion, when they go up against the best.
This team's currently number 1 for me in like. Okay, there's like 4 teams that haven't revealed the roster.
Like 3 rosters announced.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay, but of the three rosters, the Spark is the number 1 for me so far.
Yeah.
You have to also remember this is another evened number season for Ray, Coach Ray. This guy, I don't know what his deal is. He only coaches an even number season. Odd number seasons, he's bouncing. He's out of here. So, which means, by the way, next season he's gone again. He's just going to leave again. So, but when Ray and Leave work together, it's magic. Like, Leave plays his absolute best. If you think about when Leave's best performances are, when his best seasons are, it's when Coach Ray is on the team as well. So last year when Ray was gone and Chengdu was a bit of a shit show, it's just a nightmare for Leave. But
someone in the chat just said, did Johnny just call Leave a bus rider? And if you don't know ABA, that's just like so many levels deep that I don't know if you're going to explain it on the podcast, but it's funny. Joss, you were saying something?
Did you guys talk about last week about how the Spark and everybody are going to play the game?
on
is that
VPNs.
I honestly don't
situation
know.
has
But,
that
Are they gonna be
has
in Korea?
that arisen yet?
They're currently in China on VPNs.
Korea.
There's no way they're not going to go to Korea, though, right? Like, is there restrictions with what they can do on the VPN, or
It's more expensive to go to Korea. They have facilities in Hangzhou. They have a team facility in Hangzhou.
I'm just going to put it out there.
They play an
I would
Overwatch
not
League season on
want-
VPN.
Yes,
That's
I
what
would
they're
not
doing
want
right
to
now.
play on VPNs, which I'm pretty sure are not legal in China to compete in the league. I know they
I
have
don't know.
facilities and shit, but like, are you going to bend your country's rules
Jack,
around
by the
using
way,
VPNs?
you do know that for the past few years during COVID, they played online from China, including last year.
Yeah, well,
That's
it's
not
different.
different.
The
Not
game
on
wasn't
VPN,
banned.
yeah,
Or
the
not
game- yeah.
banned, but it wasn't
Yeah,
licensed.
so are we talking about the logistics of playing? We're talking about the legality because those are two
The
different things.
legality
Legality,
of
yeah,
playing.
yeah.
Like I don't know anything
not
about the
like
legality, but
legit shit, 'cause I
logistically
could
nothing's
fucking-
changed.
I could VPN to Madagascar right now and play from there. Like, I don't know, like
Because they're
but-
currently playing Korean ranked VPNs.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm just defining logistics here. But you know, the legality
I
of them
think China
playing
and
it-
Madagascar are quite the same, Jaws.
Okay, well, what? I was just talking about using a VPN. Okay, it was a comment. It wasn't supposed to be. We're not supposed to go in depth here. But I'm saying I think it would make sense for them to go to Korea where they can play. Yes, I know they already have a facility in fucking China, and it would make sense for them. Yes, but the game's not licensed in China. And I don't know if they want to risk using a VPN. I could be fucking wrong, and they're just going to do it anyway.
I have no idea what the legalities are there. Maybe
Yeah,
they
like,
can get away with it. I don't know.
maybe
I don't
they
even. Is
can
it? I
because
don't
it's-
even know if it's illegal. I don't even know if it's.
I'm
just
pretty
a
sure it
gray
is
area or
illegal to
what.
VPN in China.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, and like, sure, people do it every day, right? Like,
Yeah, people would.
millions of Chinese people that use the internet probably do VPN to get on YouTube, to get on whatever the fuck, you know. But for like a league, a little bit more out there, you know, than someone sitting in their room using a VPN. I don't know if they'd want to fuck with that. So in my head, I always thought, well, they're just going to play from China and they're going to get like an athlete's visa or something. Well, like an esports player visa, because Korea's very much ahead of the times when it comes to that kind of thing. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys discussed that last week, but that I'm
It's
still
amazing
scratching
how
my fucking
little we
head.
know about this topic. So
Yeah. Well, I feel like we don't have the answers. We're just sort of spitballing here, so we should
Yeah.
probably not talk. But we don't have any answers of like
I'm
what they're
pretty
planning
sure
to do.
that I'm pretty sure they're not going to Korea.
Okay.
But I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing.
Yep, we'll see. All right, we're gonna speed run two topics here, and then
Okay.
yes, we will get to Washington Justice. Calm down, chat. Holy shit, you've been talking about Washington Justice for like 10 minutes. Calm down. We'll get there. All right. But we need to speed run some topics, all right? Because this episode is quickly building up to being way too long than I want it to be. Something a little quick. We got some content. Was it this past week we got some content? Danteh Coluge leaked the scrims between Toronto Defiant and the LA Gladiators. I watched a few of them. Custa watched them on stream. Do you guys, Avril, Jaws, did you guys get the chance to watch the scrims? What do you think?
I watched Scott watch the scrims.
Hey, make sure
I
to
did not.
subscribe.
Avril, got any?
I didn't watch the scrims.
Okay, let me cover it. You didn't miss anything. It's literally like, and I
wasn't
think this is
crazy.
an important context for people who watched it. Like, this is like before anyone is even properly scrimming. Most of the gladiators are on high ping. They're moving players around. They're just fucking around. Like, no one knows what the meta is. You know, we saw some Danteh ball permanently feeding on Havana for a little bit, but that doesn't mean that Danteh is the worst ball in the league, right? Like, people are just throwing shit at the wall. It was kind of interesting to see. Who's playing what. Looks like Sam is kind of the tracer for.
Wait, who's playing ball for Toronto?
I don't think they played any ball. They played. Toronto was playing a lot more Junker Queen.
So
and
Coluge did not
Winston-
lie. He refused to play
Coluge did
ball,
not play ball.
and he stuck to it.
He didn't.
Yeah, and
he
then they
must
played a lot
ignore
of Sigma
it.
against each other. Yeah,
He's just like, I ain't playing ball.
Yeah.
they did play Havana, so like Havana was one of the two maps that they played. So Sigma's quite good on Havana.
Yeah.
So
All I
was,
saw was someone falling off the map and then Lastro TPing and falling off the map.
yeah, that was really funny. Yeah, Lastro was trying to save
That
himself.
was
and
very funny.
Oh wait, someone trolled him.
That was the highlight of the scrims for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the scrims, and then I did like a tweet, and I went live on Twitch, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna review Bobble's point of view from these scrims, and then I queue in on Havana attack, and he gets killed by like a Sigma 3 times, and like they do nothing because they're playing this ball comp down to playing ball. It was so bad. Like I gave up on like extracting knowledge from these scrims. There's nothing to learn.
There's nothing.
You know what?
They're not even. They're barely trying.
I have PTSD from these scrims because you guys remember 2 years ago, 2021 preseason, the NYXL scrims got leaked. And I remember watching those and looking at those.
Oasis,
and I was like, oh my God, Wang Bung he's the next hit scan god. He's the next hit scan prodigy. Look at this NYXL team. It's going to be so good. And then they were fucking shit that year. I got mad PTSD, and I was talking them up. I was in all the podcasts like, I watched the NYXL scrims. Oh, they look so good in the scrims, and I got mad punished that year. I got egg on my face for believing in the fucking league scrims.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Even the scrims going into last year as well, where we had the opportunity to watch some teams, and then it's just like, oh, the meta changed. It's just up in the air. Nothing mattered. It's just like, all right, very cool. See you guys in the season where it actually matters. Yeah, I think people got their hopes up because they were like, oh, scrims, this is amazing. Like, we can build some analysis on this, and it was just completely waste of time. Just like complete waste of time. Team started trying. So don't read into the scrims, guys. It was not great. Something else that we need to touch on, because we love rumors here on the podcast, of course. We pivoted very hard from Bren's time on the podcast, where Bren was like, we don't talk about rumors, to now literally every week I'm just like, hey, what do you think about these rumors, guys?
We have nothing else.
Rumors are funny.
When you're that starved for content.
Yeah.
You know?
APAC rumors on Reddit. Gossip tag.
Bro, how many upvotes is that? How many upvotes?
58.
Yeah, whoa. We're taking anything now.
Shady authors, not available. They literally posted, I think it was Guangzhou Charge. I don't even know if this is official. But they posted Seoul Dynasty, Prophet, Void, Lee Soo-min. Interesting. Void? I think this roster, was this posted?
That's announced, yeah.
Yeah, that's announced now. I don't know if it was announced. Yeah, it's 1 day ago. Yeah, it was announced by that. Dragons, Viper, Hisu, Jinmu.
No, there's no shot Jinmu's on Dragons.
Jinmu on the Dragons?
No way, bro. Can't be.
I could maybe see Heath, but Jinmu?
That damage duo, Hisu and Jinmu together, it's a must-watch TV.
No, like, it would be so cursed. It would
it would be the most entertaining damage duo to watch ever.
Here's why it won't happen, because Viper and Jinmu already have the same heroes, realistically speaking. Both flex DPSs, play Genji Fire. I mean, it's just like
silly season.
What really is Jinmu doing on this team? He doesn't speak the same language. It's just, I don't think, you got to think, if you're Moon, do you recruit Jinmu if you're Moon? It just doesn't make sense. I don't know if I buy this at all.
Maybe it's just like, yo, we're going a bit budget this year. Let's just throw the spanner in the works and let's see what happens.
If you wanted to go budget this year, there's plenty of good, still other Korean 17-year-olds that you could link up. Bro, if you wanted another flex DPS from Korea, Top Dragon's available.
I don't know if he's available. He's not playing in the. He's
rumored to go somewhere.
Yeah, he's rumored to be going somewhere.
I have this up as well.
People are assuming it's Seoul, right? People think he's going to Seoul, play with Prophet.
Something like that.
Oh, here's a crazy player that's been rumored for Seoul for Dynasty, and I hope this is not true. Prophet on Seoul Dynasty. And no, not the Prophet that's already there, the other Prophet.
Oh, the other
both Prophets are going to be in the same team.
They can't do that. I'm pretty sure if that tries to go over someone at Overwatch League's desk, I need them to fucking shut that shit down. You can only have one person, or there needs to be a name change.
It'd be a fan favorite.
Has to be a name change.
No, I know. You cannot have two Prophets on the team, Johnny. It's not allowed.
I'm not doing it.
Them's the rules.
What are you talking about?
We cannot.
Okay,
How are you going to call the game?
Funny Astro, but we can't have
different.
That's
because
way different names. Prophet and Prophet are literally the same name.
How is it that far? One guy you call Astro and the other Lastro?
Yeah,
that's fine. Funny Astro.
Funny Astro.
Daniel Hathaway, his full name.
Different.
It's the same reason that Linksa and Linksa cannot be on the same team. I don't make the rules.
You can't have Prophet and Prophet together. That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
No.
Honestly, at this point, in this timeline we're currently in, I don't think they're going to notice, and I think it will go through. And it will be funny. It'll be funny. Not for me, though. If I cast fucking Prophet and Prophet in the same fucking game, that would suck. And I would just be able to hear
it will be balls. I will.
All right. I'm just quickly browsing these rosters. And the reason why I think these rosters are interesting, because you notice there are quite a few names missing from this Korean Open Tournament top 16 rosters. There's quite a few names missing that are actually like Overwatch League capable players and prospects. And you'll be like, well, maybe Overwatch League teams will pick up these players. And now they're not playing in like the tournaments that are going on in Korea. So it gives you a hint that maybe they already have a team, but it's yet to be announced.
No,
and
this
yes,
is just the open teams though. There's still the other. This is the open that goes into contender stuff, right? So they could be on the. For example, O2 Blast is not on this list. They could be on O2 Blast. Top Dragon could be on O2 Blast.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't think this was like open division. I thought this was like some tournament because.
I mean, if you look at the first page, there's no O2 Blast. There's no. I don't think Talon's doing. There's no. There's none of that. There's no like a Team Diamonds there. You know what I mean? There's none of the big hitters, the heavy hitters. That's what I think it is. I'm pretty sure.
All right. I'll pivot my take. I'll pivot my take from uninformed idiot who doesn't know how the Korean tournament structure works, and I'll pivot to how dare you name an open division team to Korean Typhoon to replicate British Hurricane.
It's a good-looking team, though.
Is it?
Is it not to you? Got like three out players on it.
You got a few 2022 Toronto Defiant members there. You have Muse, of course, on tank. You have Finale.
Valentine's not bad. It's a decent team.
It's a decent team, but it's no British Hurricane. It's no American Tornado. This is, I don't know. This is some wannabe shit. I don't buy it.
Also, Simple's really good. Simple's one of the. He's current. I would say Simple with Bliss gone. Simple might be the current top support prospect.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is Arrow's been around for a minute. I don't know. This dude's been in a contender for ages.
Arrow's been around for fucking ever.
Yeah, this guy's been here for so long.
Dude, he was pre-Overwatch League 2, right? Am I?
Maybe. Look at Arrow's history. You can't because it's an image, but yeah, Arrow's.
I know how the internet works.
Okay,
that's a surprise.
You can't drag and drop
Jaws next episode.
No, wait.
Arrow. All right, here we go.
2017, he started on Bond Spirit Gaming. He was in O2 as well. Then Talon, then Uprising, Lamau.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been around since 2017. All right, okay, so yeah, maybe not just before Overwatch League.
There we go.
But yeah, he's been around for an age though. Feels like.
So among the open div teams, I think that's one of the front runners for sure.
Yeah.
Based on player quality.
Yeah. Didn't we do like some kind of draft episode like half a year ago where we like drafted people who wanted to get promoted or something into the league? Yeah, I remember we did an episode like that. Yeah. I think I put Simple on my list even at that time. I don't even know. I want to believe I did. I'm not sure. Anyway, all right. We've speedrun those segments, kind of. We're 1 hour 30 into the podcast. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. And now.
It's time.
The meat and potatoes.
We're going to kick off our team previews. Moving in to the 2023 season. Seasons past, we've done separate videos and we've preview them on like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, stuff like that. Logistically, I just don't think that's feasible this year. So instead, we're just going to bake them into the Plat episodes. And my wish as the host and the organizer of this show was that we'd keep the episodes short so we could rant for a little bit. But as it stands, I mean, we're on 1 hour 30 in. So we'll see. I don't think we need more than like 15, 20 minutes per team though. So we'll see how it goes. So we're going to cover three teams per episode. And hopefully by then we'll have done all 20 teams by the time Overwatch League actually starts. Some people might realize that we won't have done all the teams going into the Pro-Am. So it's my hope that we can save some of the best Western region teams after the Pro-Am. So we'll treat the Pro-Am a little bit as like pre-season event. And then when we've seen some of the best teams play in the Pro-Am, that's when we can accurately like rate the teams better going into the actual Overwatch League season with the regular season games and the stage tournaments and all that stuff. So maybe a bit of a backwards way to do it. But that's the best way I could come up with, really, because otherwise we'll do team previews that are outdated by the time that the Pro-Am has passed. So, and then we'll do the official ranking, of course. So just talking about the rosters, the teams, or our thoughts about them going into this season, and a little bit stuff like that. And today we're kicking off with 3 teams. So just getting it out of the way, really, the first team, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone. And this is not going to be a theme or anything, so don't try to read into it too much. But we're kicking the team previews off with the Vegas Eternal. Here we go, guys.
Starting from the top, I see. Okay, good thinking, Johnny.
Yes. The Vegas Eternal.
No
Going
thoughts,
in
head empty.
to the
Oh,
2023.
man.
We even got a chance to watch this team just a couple of weeks ago in the in the trials for the United States.
Did anyone watch that game? Did anyone watch Sumito beat them?
I'm gonna be honest, I
Sumito
didn't.
did beat them.
I didn't. I
Sumito's
also didn't
team.
watch it.
I value my time.
I've heard, okay, from what I heard, okay, so just for context for anyone, this Vegas Eternal roster, because they're all American, they did the American Open qualifiers, and they lost to a team that had Sumito and Clone Man and a few others. But from what I heard, it was like a meta diff. I think they played like Reinhardt May and just like kind of rolled over them. So I think you can't take this too seriously of they lost. It's definitely not a great look, but you shouldn't take it too seriously. We've had a lot of questions about this Paris Eternal roster. I think as a whole of it's a bold strategy to not overhaul that roster when they went practically winless last season. Because they won one game, right?
Yes.
Not with this roster. Did this roster win any games?
Yeah, I don't think this roster won. Did they? I can't remember when they
No,
won
this
their game.
specific
They won
roster
one.
didn't win, I don't think.
Yeah, and so it's a bold strategy. They currently only have 5 players, so we don't know who their 6th is going to be right now. But you know, I think a lot of us don't really have high expectations for this roster. But it kind of feels like they're trying to pull off a London Spitfire from 2022, where everyone's underrating us, guys. We can do it better than last year.
Yeah. So actually, looking at some of the changes from last year, obviously the same team that won one match last year. After adding this team after A-Sides, I think it was, they won A-Sides. They added Krawi, who now is replaced by Vulcan, who actually was the tank of the Contenders team that they won with in the Jotes meta. And so now Vulcan is sort of like rejoining his former team and stuff like that. They have 5 members as of now. They, of course, made a coaching staff change where they parted way with Faustus and JMac and added Empress, who is a pretty good resume, to be honest with you.
the only coach on this team right now?
I believe so.
Danger.
I don't. Yeah, they've not announced another one, right?
They haven't announced
Pretty sure.
But they also need to announce the 6th, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Unless Empress is only a player coach now, which, you know, budget stuff.
Why do I feel like this might have been a rumor that they added restrictions for adding a coach as a player for this season? I don't know if that's true. Maybe I'm just spreading misinformation.
I heard something about that, but I can't remember where.
Yeah.
But I can corroborate something about that.
Yeah, because they wanted to stop people from doing that, of just making a 5-man roster and then like making a coach a player, but no expectation to play them.
Yeah.
Like thingy from accounting. Like
Yeah.
fucking
Steve from
Well, there are
accounting.
several teams who haven't announced a 6th player. And I believe there's a deadline for adding a 6th player, whether it's like the 13th or something. So it's not like
the 13th, you need a minimum of 5 players signed.
Okay.
Prior to the season start, so I don't know if that includes Pro-Am.
you can sign
you
up
must
someone
have a
after
minimum
Pro-Am,
of 6
maybe.
players.
Yeah. So it's not like they're violating anything yet, but we'll see, of course, you know, what teams announce the 6th player and stuff like that. I think Seoul Infernal, I think, is in the same boat. They only have 5 players announced as of right now. And
Well, Valiant has 0, so they're doing better than Valiant.
True.
But fun fact, Valiant and New York Excelsior need to have 5 players signed by March 13th, which is in 6 days of this recording. So get your shit together.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting, all right. So I'm just gonna say it, guys. Vegas Eternal last year, they were really fucking bad. All right, they were
What a hot take.
terrible. They were
Yeah.
they were really bad. So just running it back, I said this at the end of last season as well. I think it was a bit of a shocking decision to continue with this 5 and expect any kind of change. It's an extreme uphill battle, not only because, you know, the player's mechanical individual skill, like, are these guys actually good enough to warrant playing the Overwatch League, or are there better talents in the Contenders, for example, that deserve a shot instead of them and a chance to prove themselves? But also because, like, is there like any big environmental change when it comes to like the team chemistry, the team vibes, stuff like that? Because that definitely impacts your motivation to play the game, how you feel about playing the game, your mindset going into matches, your mindset going into practice, all this stuff. And like, other pro players that have played for a team, they can back me up. Like all this mental outside stuff, it definitely impacts the way you play the game. So I'm a bit worried that they're kind of like running back with a new tank and they expect some kind of like difference in results. It's sort of like not quite the definition of insanity where like you're doing the same thing over and over again, because they have made a few changes. But I am very worried that like 6 games into this season, they start off like maybe like 0-6, and you go like, holy shit, are they literally just going to do this the entire season again? I'm extremely concerned about like the long-term sustainability of this team if they get off to a bad start. Because then what do? Do you just like cut the entire team like you did last year? Do you just continue with the idea that they're going to massively improve? Like, what do you do? Like, what do you do if you start out bad with this team that won 1 match? And it wasn't even them who won it. It was not even them who won the match.
Yeah, it was the other guys. I remember that situation. It was they announced that Paris Eternal team was going to get cut, and they won the match, and then they got cut.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Something
right.
like that.
Yeah. Nothing to lose kind of game.
But
So
here's
this is
some.
Sorry, this just goes back to like what Sideshow said about, was it him that landed them the like entertainment thieves or something? He branded like Vancouver, someone entertainment thieves. This is entertainment theft. Like, and maybe you go like, well, they could be London Spitfire, they could improve. And like what Hardy did last year was phenomenal. A massive improvement from him. Lots of credit to him. This is like having 5 Hardys, and you expect all of them to like improve massively and pop off. It's so different.
London had they had a best in slot. They at least, you look at London, it's like, well, it's not just they had the best Ryan, they had the best May. Like they literally had the best possible player in that position to play what they needed to. And you can't say the same about Vegas right now. I was going to say that the only major hopium I have, and this is half a joke, is that like, well, maybe Valiant and New York have worse rosters, so Vegas will be last. So.
But here's my, okay, I'm going to give you even more copium, which is like, this is just trying to, give us a little bit of entertainment so it doesn't feel like pure theft, is that I hope that Empress can come into this team and with an official preseason, with them actually knowing their roster coming together, them actually being able to get some synergy, they will be able to produce better results than when they were just thrown into the deep end last season, in the middle of a season, with like a hodgepodge of players. Not all of them have been a team for the whole time. I would hope that they can put up better performances than they did last year. And if there is a more, sadly, more players at the bottom end that just consist of contenders players, because that's our assumption that MYXL and Valiant are doing, then maybe they can at least go even with those types of teams.
I mean, isn't that the whole thing? Vegas's plan of why they kept the players. Partially, it might have been a money thing. But the other thing is like, well, this is better than restarting again and building up from zero synergy. At least they can build on the synergy they had from the end of the last season, right? Like it's better than starting from zero. I think was the justification. That alongside with bringing over Empress, who's worked with these players before, means you at least get to hit the ground running for 2023. And I think Scott's right. At least you have a full preseason to work through. Everyone knows what the expectations are. You're not just being thrown into the mix. It should be more positive than last year, but some of the rosters across NA are just so much better than last year as well. So the competition across the board, like even you look at Vancouver, I think Vancouver's team has improved massively compared to last year. So you don't have that whole like, oh, Paris versus Vancouver thing. Well, Vancouver's about to overtake quite easily. So Vegas, again, just better hope that Valiant and New York have a worse team.
I think it's kind of props to the org in a way too, because they could have left these players just out in the dust completely and their careers would have been over because of the unbelievably bad season last year.
Valiant will take him up.
We sure. Okay. Yeah. But like the narrative and like the talking points we had last year on Plat Chat was they actually might get fucked by this team because they come in and win 0 games and then next year rolls around and no one wants to touch them because they've won 0 games and they already have that hanging over their head. So a bright spot for the players in this situation that, hey, a lot of you are getting another big chance here at the league. And you, like Scott said, you do have the run up with preseason, the team. Empress is coming in, which looks good. Like there is a few positives here, and I'm happy that they're getting this chance and they've not just been thrown by the wayside, because that would feel fucking terrible, because there are clearly some talented players here that have just not really have been given the best chance, especially how last year went. Will that talent come out, and are they going to be better than a lot of the top teams? Probably not, but they're probably going to be able to contend with the likes of NYXL and Valiant, and it might be a fairly competitive lower half of the table. Like, I know that sounds really weird, but we're going to have a very competitive higher end of the table, but then the lower end too, they are also taking kind of games off each other and whatnot, rather than kind of like the dumpster fire at the bottom, what we had last year, right? So that's kind of my take on it. I don't think they're going to beat some of the top table teams, but it's good to see people like Dove back in. Has shown some decent-ish performances, even if they didn't win a single match when they got subbed in halfway through the year.
Like, you know, to Jack's point, this whole team could have been given the Wub treatment, right? Which is like, Wub is, I genuinely believe, is a talented player who got thrown in the deep end, had put up some bad performances, and now the public perception of him as a player is that he's just not a good player at all. And I think that's quite unfair. And he hasn't been able to find a team this season. So, you know, I agree with Jack. It's cool that if Paris is going to throw these guys under the bus in the middle of a season, at least they're giving them a fair chance. But I'm with Johnny here that I'm worried that this team isn't going to compete, and the only people they're going to compete against are other teams that aren't putting their best foot forward.
Yeah, I mean, if this team, I'm sorry to be this harsh about it. Like, I genuinely don't mean them in like ill will, or like I don't, you know, dislike them personally or anything like that. But like, if they play this entire season out and they don't find that success, this might be like the most time and patience like a roster's ever been given in Overwatch to like perform. Like, no one gets this many chances, no one gets this much opportunity to actually like prove themselves before teams go like, well, sorry guys, we're moving on. Sorry, it's nice knowing you, it didn't work out, you didn't win anything, we're moving on to a new roster. The fact that they renewed or, you know, continued the contracts, I don't know what their contracts look like, to carry on over to this season after last year's spectacle, I mean, it's a lot of belief. It's a lot of trust in that these players will get it together, and you know, with the help from Empress, that they're actually going to be better this season. Unlike anything I think we've seen in the Overwatch League before. So here's hoping it works. But there's also more pressure, arguably, on them, because now they, as you said, like, they've had a preseason. You know, they've added Empress, who's worked with them before, and some of these different things going their way, right? So. Yeah, I'm very much concerned, and I think we might get to the end of the season and be like, "What the fuck was that?" But hopefully some of these players will, you know, fulfill their potential. Like Dove, for example. Like, Dove has been getting a lot of praise in contenders and stuff like that. But if you can't perform, if you can't get the wins, then, you know, the results speak for themselves. So.
Are there even that many better options in contenders? Because I'm thinking like, okay, what if they did drop this team and go, we're going to go back to contenders to scout again? I don't follow NA contenders close enough to know the answer to my own question here, but it's just like, it just feels like it almost is the better decision to be like, give this team another chance, start with the ground running and see how it goes. Like, just looking across, I mean, maybe you grab who's good right now. Some people from Odyssey or Redbird. Tree's like 14 years old, so he can't be one. You know, I just don't know. I just don't know if there's really that many other good options from NA contenders anyway.
Well, yeah, and that's an important point, right? Like, a lot of this team is like Vulcan, Lugmino, Rack Attack. They are Odyssey. They have been the second best team under American Tornado, like back in those days, who were in contenders. So they are really some of the best prospects coming out of NA contenders. Just because they didn't perform in the league doesn't discredit their performances prior to that.
Yeah. Someone brought up a good point in chat. Dallas 2018, 2019. They did give players a lot of patience and time to perform, but didn't work out. But
that's because they couldn't bin people in 1 month.
Yeah, that's because
contract.
they couldn't get them out of their team.
True.
They would have had to pay them to get out.
But yeah, I think my biggest point is just like, as someone who's been there, like, taking a bad situation in a team and turning it good, it's very difficult. it's very difficult without like shortcut solutions of like removing a player and adding a new one, trying to change up the chemistry, trying to change up the environment. It's very difficult to take a bad situation, a bad team in Overwatch, and like turn it around and like make people fulfill their potential. And that is what I worry about. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to turn this ship around with the pressure on them and the expectations this year for them to finally get it together. That's what I'm worried about. So we'll see. But yeah. Let's end it on a good note, though. If there is anyone who would pop off on this team, what is your favorite part about this roster? What is one player on this team that you're like really look forward to see this season that you think could actually make things look good for the Vegas Eternal, that could hopefully fulfill their potential this year? What is one player that stands out to you on this roster?
I'll go then. Sure. Dove. I think Dove is a good DPS player. I think he's shown a lot in contenders, and he showed a little bit last year. It's hard to show up when you get put in the deep end, right, and you get kind of fucked on by the rest of the teams because you've been dropped into the Overwatch League halfway through the season. But yeah, I do have high hopes for Dove. Maybe he can show a little something this year, a little bit more than last year.
I don't know if this is the correct answer, but like, this is the player that needs to show up. And I kind of felt bad for him last year as well. That's Vulcan.
Oh.
Especially with the whole NYXL thing. Vulcan's getting a second shot. I don't even know if you can say as last year's was a shot at all, but in any case, he's getting a shot.
Yeah.
No, he didn't play.
Even fucking play. So I would count this as his first shot, honestly.
So yeah, he gets a shot, but he's the only tank so far. You know, he's got to get some real work done here. So I hope Vulcan pays off.
I'm going to go for the backline. I think the backline had a lot of hype coming into the league, but they were hit by the worst case of like they literally came in at the worst time to really have the opportunity to prove themselves. So now they really get a fair shot and they can hopefully do big things from the backline. And this is going to be an important season for backliners because we're expecting to get 2 support heroes throughout this year. So you're gonna need talented players who are able to pick things up quickly. And if they can do that, maybe Paris has a lot more upside than we think. Or we give them credit for.
Yeah, Lukemino was actually considered like one of the better contender flex supports prospects going into last year. And I think at the time, a lot of people were speculating that Lukemino would join London Spitfire when their whole drama unfolded before going into last year, right? Before they added Landon. It was like, well, is it Landon? Is it going to be Lukemino? And I think Lukemino was in that conversation because people recognized that mechanically, Lukemino was or is really good. So he could definitely be a standout player for them. Dove as well. Dove received a lot of praise. Was it Get Amazed? It was some coach. I can't remember who. Well, no, it was Faustus actually. We did an interview with Faustus, and Faustus was like, "Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Dove in contenders, and like this guy is primed to be a really good player, and put a lot of faith in Dove." So, I think Dove is a good shout here, Jaws, as someone who could step up and make a difference for this team. So, absolutely that some of these players could step up. And I'm excited to see Vulcan back with the team as well. Because it always was a bit weird to me when they got picked up initially. I was like, oh, they won contenders, and then they got Krawi as their tank instead of Vulcan, who played with them. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. There are a few players on this team that you could really look to that could make a difference this year. So I'm looking forward to that. So we tried to do a bit of a happy note there to end that. But something I want to do for all the team previews is we don't rate them 1 to 20 because we don't know the other teams yet, the roster and stuff like that. So we can't really do it. But temporarily, we can at least place them on a tier. So where do we put the Vegas Eternal? That is what I asked you guys.
Okay, all right. I'll be the bad guys. They got to go into D tier. Like they're gonna be the bottom of the West. And here's the thing. This isn't supposed to be disrespect, and if these players can prove us otherwise, I think we all want them to prove us otherwise. But until they give us any hope or like any semblance to trust them, they just lost to a Samido team in the World Cup trials. As much as that shit doesn't matter, they should be able to get over that hump, even if they're not really trying.
He's gonna ride that shit forever.
Samido is the greatest player in the Overwatch League in the North America, and he needs to get signed to a team. One of those things is true.
Bro, Samido is laughing himself to the bank. We beat an Overwatch League team in the World Cup. Samido versus Las Vegas Eternal. So he's churning out the content after beating an Overwatch League team. So
I mean, best way to get clicks, eh? Anything to get clicks, man.
content creation, baby.
That is content creation.
Yep. All right. Yeah, we need to,
I don't think anyone can test Scott on that one.
Yeah.
Our
Sorry,
first
guys,
team is
prove us
placed. There we go. It'll look way better once we have some teams on here. I promise. It's off to a rough start, but there will be.
Let's do another one. Get another one out before we do it. Yeah, get a really good team for the next one. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. All right. So finally, what the people have been asking for. We get into some news as well. Let's talk about our next team. And I figured I'd do this on this episode because they were in the news this past week. So it makes sense. You finally get what you asked for. The Washington Justice team preview. Woo! Announced their roster this past week. Very much talked about. A pretty controversial roster announcement because they decided to do it in like 7 tweets. Super came out of the woodworks. Super's just like lurking. I don't know what the analogy is, but he's just like lurking. And when it's time, he comes out with the takes, with the tweets. Like lays it out, tells it how it is. He was very much upset, of course, that
well, they were giga stalling forever, and every other Overwatch League team was clowning at them on the timeline for taking 7 fucking weeks to come out with,
and then doing an announcement of an announcement.
Yeah, exactly. Like no real surprise. Honestly, they're playing into it, and mad props for that. But yeah, dude. Maybe 1 week less of playing into it would have been nice, but I guess we got the team. Although, then again, they might not have signed by then, so I don't know. Maybe they just signed the day of. Fuck knows. Fuck knows.
I'm gonna keep it real. Just announce the damn roster, dog. Why are you milking the shit out of this? It's corny. Do you need to farm impressions that badly? Wrap it up.
Well, okay, here's the thing. The thing that was crazy to me than that super thing is, did you guys see the clip of... I don't know who it was who said it, but on Collusion stream, someone literally just said what the team was. They just...
it was Speedily. It was Speedily.
Oh, yes, Speedily was like... And they were like... yo, why would they scrim us without being on Smurfs anyway? They're pretty much asking for us to announce it. And then they just said the entire roster. And it was like, bro, come on. Like, just give them this.
Trying to link their own roster way at a time. They just start linking other rosters.
They're like, fuck it, yeah.
I would recommend people, if you haven't watched that clip, to literally go and find that Twitch clip from Coluge stream. It's genuinely gold. It's so fucking funny.
Justice to try to milk it day by day, like 1 player per day, and Speedly's like, here's the roster.
No.
Because they're chilling in spawn. They're loading into ranked, and they're chilling in spawn, just waiting to start Blizzard World. And I think Speedily goes, like, not even streaming. It's on Collusion stream, and Speedily goes like, what happens if I do just like say the roster? Will anything bad happen? And Collusion's like, I don't know, man. Maybe you'll get like fined or something. I don't know. Like, I don't think they can do anything. And Speedily just says, he just rattles off the names, and Collusion's like, all right, cool, man. And just carry on with their day. Like, they don't give a
honestly, fuck props, bro. Like, fuck it. You just don't give a shit, and that's kind of funny.
It was amazing, yeah. And then especially with how the roster looks, you're just like, did he make that shit up? Or is it actually like the roster they're playing with? Because taking a look, let's take a look first at the roster that they got rid of, going back from last year. So, of course, last year, Kalios, Opener, Krillin, Assassin, Decay. They had Happy for a while before it went to the Gladiators. Vigilante got traded to Atlanta Reign. Mag went to the Boston Uprising. So, moving away from this very stacked Korean roster that we hoped for so many years that they would just be a fantastic team. Had some issues, always like on the cusp of qualifying for stage events and stuff like that. And instead, they've announced this with Coach Geramace, of course. I think they did extended trials and stuff like that. The roster is, starting with Tank, Ben Best, Mirror, Alpha Yi, Flora, FD God, and Tero as your flex support.
Yeah.
Like, I saw the greatest representation of a reaction to this roster. You guys know that meme of the half-drawn horse? On one end, it looks amazing, and it just looks like a child's drawing. It's like, yeah, so you start out with Flora Alfie, great-looking horse, and then it just becomes a child's drawing after that.
It's like the Scrabble bag team. Like, what the fuck? How did this even happen? But I mean, individually, some of their bits are pretty decent. How long is? When did Ben Best last play?
Oh,
He's
in
been playing in
contenders.
EU contenders.
Yeah.
He's been playing. He's been playing since
got
the
second-
2020.
Second
But-
in
season
the
in
round
Overwatch
of
League.
Europe.
Yeah,
When
in
was the-
2020.
2020
Paris.
was the last time we played Overwatch League, right?
Yeah.
With Paris. Because yeah, he was on the team with Sparkle, right?
Mhm.
Sparkle,
Hanbin,
yeah, and
Fielder.
Hanbin, yeah, Field, yes, holy shit, and yeah, maybe Doha. I can't remember if Doha was. on this.
Exy.
Exy, that was it. Yeah, wow, that is a name I'd never thought I'd see again. I don't know about anybody else, but I didn't think Ben Best would step back into the fray. And honestly, not bad. Like, to be fair, grinding contenders, making his way back in. Who's the other guy? Kalios almost did the Kalios, right? Kalios goes to Overwatch League, goes to OD, trials, contenders, back in the Overwatch League again. Like the full fucking cycle. Ben Best's not quite there, but hey, if he's been grinding away and he thinks they think he's good enough, then fair.
I do
shout.
feel bad
But
for him.
2 years away from the Overwatch League, that just seems like an impossible feat to come back and like smash people.
What team was he
worry.
meant to get on? I think in 2021 he was meant to be on a team. He revealed this on a stream. He was meant to be on a team, and then some visa shit happened, and he didn't end up being there. Do you guys remember that? It was
right.
2021, right?
I do remember that. I do remember that he was. There was something going on with his visa that stopped him from being able to do it. I remember what you're talking about. I have no context
Yeah.
of what it is.
Oh, I can't remember what team it was. I'm trying so hard to remember what team it was. For some reason, I'm pretty sure it's an APAC team. It's ridiculous. I know it sounds crazy,
Fusion
but
on
I'm
London?
pretty sure.
Yeah.
Off the,
Had
oh
to
no,
have
chat's
been
off the
Fusion.
group as well. Yeah, I think I agree. I remember him talking
No,
that
he
visas
said it
was
on
his
stream.
biggest drawback.
He
Yeah,
said
I
it on
remember
stream. He's like, I got a league offer, but it fucking blew up because of the visa or whatever. It's like some reason. So I feel he's super unlucky. Yes, he was meant to come back.
Well, like we need to remember this was 2021, like peak COVID. It was hard to get visas during this time.
Was like all the consulates were like shutting down and shit like that, because I had to deal with my visa and stuff at that point too. It was fucking nightmare to get anything to do with a visa through the consulates, because they were backed up because they were closed for so long.
Yeah.
Doesn't really
So I haven't seen what he's been doing in contenders, but you know, part of me has been like, you know, be a good shot for Ben Best eventually. I just don't know when and on what team. I don't know how good he is anymore. Honestly, getting some of the French guys back is pretty cool. I've always thought FD God was good enough to come back.
FD God is good.
But
Yeah,
again, I
FD
don't know on what team. But I think he got a bad rap from Shock. I think the
agree.
whole he got scapegoated so hard on that team. It probably wasn't deserved.
He didn't play well. Like, let me do this. He didn't play well. Like, a lot of that team didn't play well, but he wasn't the only issue. Yeah, like he wasn't the only issue this team failed.
People made it out like FD God was the reason Shock were losing or some
Yeah.
shit. It was very disingenuous.
I remember
So-
the New York homestand me and Hex did. We were sitting in we were like chilling with some of the players in the player like green room area, and FD God had just fucking landed in America and then played. We were like, what the
Oh, man.
fuck? Like, how are you playing like directly after a flight? Like, it was crazy. But yeah, I agree with you. He did get scapegoated a lot, and I've always thought he was a good Lucio player, very like hyper aggressive.
Yeah.
And with Teru, who also likes to play very aggressive, quite clearly. When he was playing Kiriko at the end of the season, I was like, fuck, man, like this guy hitting heads as Kiri. It was kind of nasty, actually. So hyper aggressive.
Can you imagine going up against Washington? It's FD God and Teru running at you Mark speed while Ben Best is trying to catch up as a dive tank.
Yeah.
Wait for me.
Well, yeah. For me, it's like I agree. Like I think Ben Best was good in 2020 as well. You can say it was a matter of circumstance of he was surrounded by a great team at the 2020 Paris Eternal, but he played well. He did not deserve to not be able to play again in 2021. So I think he deserves another shot in this league, whether or not you believe in him or not. Obviously, the meme going around is that he went 0-6 in trials and that kind of shit. It's like I don't hate the signing of Ben Best and FD God. Yes, there's probably a little bit of nepotism coming in from Get Amaze being the head coach, but that's just how things run. And if Get Amaze believes in these players, then that's on him if these players don't perform. Right?
He did bench no Smitty in that Paris team, right?
No Smitty.
Wow, what that was a Paris team.
Let's talk about the player that actually got people up in arms. The biggest question mark. People are like, why is he here? Obviously, we're talking about Mirror, because Mirror's had a very interesting career, right? Because he's role swapped, which to be fair is actually
interesting. I'd say.
Yeah.
He's got a weird hero pool.
Player in the league to play every role officially in the game. Like, which is wild, because he came in as like an actual. He was he was the silly hero specialist in Overwatch 1. But like his Doomfist was very good, like very, very good. And then he was playing like all other random shit. His like Echo, like projectile, like DPS, but he really was the silly hero specialist. Then he was on tank.
Yeah.
Well, he was on support first, I believe, and then he went to tank. I was like, what the fuck? And it never felt like he truly found a role within the Overwatch League. It was the weirdest thing to say for like a.
I will say, being a silly hero specialist is a role to be filled. Sometimes you just need a person that can do that.
As in, pick a tank, DPS, or support, because he was chop and change too much. Like, yeah, sure, a silly hero specialist. That's a role. Like,
well, I think he got Danteh. He wasn't meant to be a tank last year, but like Danteh, he kind of it was just like, well, it's Doom. Well, we can just put this guy in Doom. I guess he's a Doom player.
Like, he is going to play Doomfist for this team. Like 100 fucking.
Yeah, he'll probably also play Zarya. He's not really an off tank though, which is a bit of an issue. So yeah, he plays Zarya and Jungle Queen and Doom. But what happens if we get a Sigma meta?
Well, yeah, you have to assume he knows that. No, you would have to assume that Mirror is learning how to play Sigma, right?
Yes.
Which is a big question mark.
Sure, he's going to have to learn how to play it. But when you go up against Coluge, I don't care how long he's spending in rank. That's going to be a major uphill battle.
You have to give Danteh the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like how are you not giving Mirror the benefit of the doubt, but we're going to give Danteh the benefit of the doubt? Unless you're not going to give Danteh the benefit.
I don't know that I am giving. I'm giving Danteh the benefit of the doubt on certain heroes, but like there's stuff like Ball and Sigma that is very difficult to learn. So it's gonna be tough, even for Danteh as well. But for Mirror, it's like he's clear. Would you agree that he's probably not the starting tank? Yeah, like I feel like Ben Best is probably the starting player.
Yeah, I mean, it's so meta dependent, right?
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Literally, if it's a Zarya meta, you're not gonna play Ben Best and Zarya, and like Mirror can actually feel Zarya pretty good. Yeah, but
yeah,
even like Diva, like how good is Mirror's Diva? Like,
I don't think he's really played Diva. That's the other problem, right? Because he's not really an off-tank player.
So you kind of have to trust Get Amazed that like everything went well and like he has belief in them. And I'm like, okay, well, how am I supposed as an analyst to like accurately like portray this team?
This dude is apparently like he's like, do I invent a new term? He's a gigaflex now because he plays 3 roles.
I wouldn't be surprised if we in one meta we're like Floor and Alpha, you can't figure out the damage, and like you have Mirror playing damage and Ben Best playing tank. Like I would not be surprised.
You don't have a second flex support. FD God doesn't play flex support, right? So you're in trouble if you need a double flex support meta. But Mirror, when he did play support, what did he play? What did he play? Ana or something? What did he actually?
Didn't he?
On when?
I can't remember.
When he played
Gladiators on that Gibraltar map.
A lot of DPS has played Brig, so I don't know if that is like necessarily a huge deal.
If I remember rightly, he played Brig. I can't remember other heroes that he did play, but
yeah, it was a bit of a silly. Like he played all 3 roles, but like okay, well,
I feel like he played Ana.
Maybe.
Yeah. Why do I feel like he played Ana as well? Why do I remember Ana? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I think I remember a Mirror Ana as well.
We've said all the Chadow's saying
every hero.
Sen, Brig, Bap, so we've almost had all the heroes now. So
okay. Well, he's also flex DPS, so he can cover some of the DPS gaps if there are any for certain metas for Flora and Alpha E.
No, I hope they don't do that. I think teams need to move away from this idea of someone like Mirror who plays multiple roles in a season. I just don't think it works very well, and it just reeks of desperation, right?
But I'm trying to figure out what Mirror's job on this team is then.
Yeah, I don't agree with it, Custa, but I can see it happening.
Is he just a Doom Zarya 2-trick? Well, what is his job?
Well, no, I think if they are signing him to this role, he needs to be expected to play all the off tanks. He needs to know how to play Diva. He needs to know how to play Sigma. If he shows up and he can't play those heroes, it was a bad signing, in my opinion, because that is his role. He is the off-tank player for the Paris Eternal. If he can't do that, then I think it was a bad signing.
You sign a DPS player as an off-tank.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets really difficult for me to like believe in this team, because you're telling me that essentially to like be comfortably and rate this team pretty highly, like a mid-table team, I'm gonna have to put so much faith in just like Mirror will be able to pick that up. And I find it like a huge leap of faith. Like the honest question is like, I don't know what their off-tank situation will look like. I don't know how good it will be. And it makes me uncomfortable to go on record and just be like, I think it'll be fine. You know, just get amazed. It'll work itself out. It'll be great, guys. But honestly, like, I have pretty, you know, some doubts about this team. You know, if we just ignore the fact that Get Amazed coached this team, if we ignore the fact that they're on Washington Justice, if you told me that this roster of these 6 players was the Vancouver Titans for 2023, I would be like, yeah, this seems like a Vancouver Titans team with all the reputation that they have of historically underperforming since they got rid of their Korean roster. It's a little bit all over the place, and I don't know what to make of it. And I don't feel comfortable about rating them like pretty good.
Is Alpha Yi basically just Aspire from last year? Like, is it not like kind of one-to-one there?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, you have like this one really good player, and then it's like,
I mean, Alfie last year, all he did was pretty much play Tracer, and his Tracer is really good, and he played Reaper. Those were his 2 most played heroes.
Genji. You guys forget about the Genji metas. He carried hard in the Genji metas.
He's also good at Echo, I believe.
He played Echo and he played Fire. He was one of the few players that played Fire. In fact, he played more Fire than Jinmu. He played the most Fire last year of anybody.
Why do I think that he played, like, his most played were Tracer and Reaper?
I would have said that his most played were Tracer and Genji, actually, because we had more Genji metas than Reaper metas.
Really? All right.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay. Well, spend some time talking about Alfie and what you think of him.
Here's the thing. For me, this whole roster, other than Alfie is the known quantity of this team. I don't know if anyone's watched this, and I use this on my stream have you guys watched the documentary Last Chance U on like Netflix? Because this is literally what it feels like for a lot of these players. These are players who didn't really have anywhere else to go, and no one was really interested in picking them up. So they've all ended up at the Washington Justice. A lot of them have history in the Overwatch League. A lot of them have, you know, some form of success, but then they've fallen away from that, and people aren't interested in signing them. It's the true with the coaching staff as well, right? You got J-Mac, Danny just got let go from the Atlanta Reign, and then you got Get Amazed, right? So these players have a lot to prove that they can still hang with the league. But my big problem that I have is there's just so many question marks across the entirety of the roster other than Alpha Yi. Like, Avril, you even glossed over Flora and said, I like the DPS line. I'm not in love with Flora as a hit scan play. He did okay in 2021 when he was on a team that was expected to be bad and he was like the best of the bad. But last year, he had a better team around him and he didn't perform very well. So I'm not even sold that Flora is a great hit scan.
I'm giving a little bit of room there for maybe improvement, but it's like Alpha Yi is clearly the best player on this team, which is why when you talk about like this feeling like a bit of a leftover team, the one player that probably could have and maybe even should have, but probably definitely could have like been on a much high quality team is Alpha Yi. I feel like he would have. I don't know what other offers he got. Was Justice really the best offer he got? No idea, but to me, he seems like a way better player compared to everybody else. But Flora, could be decent, but the whole NYXL saga for Flora has not been great.
There is a world in which this team, I don't know if Ben Best still has this identity as a tank player, but this team could be really good in a rush meta. And I actually think there's a world in which we enter a rush meta at the start of the season and this team starts quite well, right? If Flora's on that Cassidy or Sojourn and is able to play it at a high level, Alpha Yi on the Mei, you got Ben Best on the Reinhardt, FD go on the Lucio, Terry plays like a Bap or a Kiri. I can see this roster being quite good in that. It's when we start moving over to dive tanks or, you know, the Sigma metas or, you know, holes in mirrors, hero pools, right? That's where I start to get worried about this team. So I think it does give me a little bit of London vibes of, you know, not a lot of people trust this team or have a lot of faith in it. And it's probably on Get Amazed to have a Christopher season of just like rally this team together.
Right. Even if you play some rush meta with like Ryan, Ben Best, is it going to work? With mixed language and
that's the hard part, right?
Alfie Yi hasn't played on an English roster. I don't think Flora has either.
Alfie's never played on a mixed team.
You need so much synergy. You need insane synergy to pull that off. I don't think Justice can do that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we haven't really touched on too much is the language barrier of there's multiple players who had never played on a Western team. You have a couple of European players. It's going to be an uphill battle getting everyone on the same page and working as a seamless unit, and that's on top of all the issues we've already highlighted.
Yeah, and you know, I do want to spend a few minutes talking about Get Amazed as well as a coach, because he was someone that was genuinely like a coach of the year candidate when he was in charge of Paris Eternal. Was it in 2021? Where they were like a mid-table team. They got some nice wins. No one really expected them to get those wins at all, and people gave Getamaze a lot of props. Then he ended up departing the team, was replaced by JMac, and everything just like fell apart for the Paris Eternal. It was like a house of cards, and everything just like collapsed, and they ended up getting that contenders roster that they have now, the Vegas Eternal. So I still have a lot of respect for Getamaze, and you know, I actually spoke to him in the off season as well, and was like, hey, I really hope you get a gig, because like you're one of the better coaches we have, and I genuinely believe that. Well, I am curious to see though how some of these Korean players like respond to his coaching style, because it seemed like he was really good at getting everyone on Paris Eternal on the same page. Motivating them. There were those videos that came out where like he motivated them, like got them going for like a reverse sweep. And it seems like he's a fantastic like player coach. Like he like really gets everyone happy playing together, and like makes for a great team structure. So how are like Alfie, Flora, and Teru going to fit into that? I think that's a bit of a question mark, and we'll see how that goes. But it's going to be interesting to follow this team throughout the season because of that.
By the way, I'm glad that there's no beef or bad blood between Getamaze and JMac. The fact that Getamaze is like, yeah, we'll get JMac back in. I've worked with this guy. They know how to work with each other, and they had good results in 2021. That seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah, JMac
gets another shot as well.
Coach, yeah, to Getamaze. So getting the band back together from Paris Eternal 2021. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. The Western region is pretty stacked, I'll say that though. And just looking at this roster doesn't get my hopes up. I need to see it. I need to see it first. I just can't go out of my way to be like, oh, this is a mid-table team. Oh, they'll compete with like some of the better teams in the region.
How many teams go to
teams?
How many teams go to playoffs?
I don't know
they haven't said how many go to playoffs, but there's only 6 that make it to the mid-season madness.
Okay, they're probably not going to be one of the 6. There's only top 4 from NA. You have to be top 4 in NA. But I'm trying to think like, can Justice even get to playoffs? Is my biggest question, because
it's going to
probably
hard.
be more. Let's pretend it's 12 teams.
12 teams
from
in
the
total?
West, or 12 teams overall? Probably 12 teams overall, you'd think.
12
right?
teams overall for playoffs. Surely you don't have less than 12 teams for
and you'd
playoffs,
send
right?
like
Surely
8 from the West, maybe 9 from the
Would it be
West. You
7
probably do
would it
8
be-
from the West.
Do you 7-5 or do you do 8-4?
8-4, right?
I think you do
Makes the
8-4.
most
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, 8-4.
Okay, let's pretend it's 8-4. A Washington Justice top 8. That's the biggest question.
Well, okay, here's the
it's
thing.
right
I
on the
think
cusp.
they're on the cusp, and I think that comes down to them and their performances overall. Like if we put them in, like if I don't know if I don't want to jump the gun on where I'd put them in a tier list, but I think they're above, what
I'd say
we're
C.
expecting, the Valiant, the NYXL, the Paris Eternal, but I would struggle to put them higher than that.
C is the definite spot. I don't think you can ever put them higher than that. This is a you have to prove it to us team.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, we don't need to discuss the other teams as much to like spoil, the thing, but like it goes back to what Avril was saying as well about like Vancouver Titans. They have a nice team, and like
Yeah.
those are that's one of the franchises that you would probably be competing with for like one of those playoff spots, right? And so the question is Washington Justice better than that? I don't know, man. Like they're a bit of an unknown quantity, this team, so they'll have to show it to us.
If we pretend that, well, let's just say that Reign, Boston, Shock, Defiant, Glads, Houston should be a pretty clear top 6, in no particular order. And then the next 2 teams after that, I'm jumping the gun. It's probably like a Florida, London situation. Justice have to beat either Florida or without knowing Valley of New York.
I don't think they're that good. I'm sorry.
I don't think they're getting close to those teams.
I don't think absolutely not comparable to Florida.
So, well, there it is. So if Justice can't beat Spitfire or Mayhem, then they're not a top 8 team. Straight up.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, yeah, they're unlucky.
What do we think then, guys?
C.
C maximum. C maximum.
Yeah.
Washington Justice goes in C. Yep. We're all in agreement. Sounds pretty good.
It's C with Hopium, by the way, is what it is. Because
Yeah.
realistically, they could be D. This is C with Hopium.
If it all comes together, it could easily be like a top 6 NA team. Like Like, but you need.
Okay.
Okay. Wait. I just
Hey,
got myself.
other
Okay,
teams
wait.
failing,
Let me
bro.
just. I think there is potential for them to sneak into top 6. Not easily. Sorry. There's potential to think if they hit the right meta, their players play at the highest level that they can, and then some other teams start to struggle. Like maybe they do get over London. Like I could see Washington being better than London. Is sort of my point.
It's not top 6 though, because top
I
6
don't
is
know
more
about
like lads.
Oh yeah, actually, okay, top 8. Okay, I've
Top eight.
I've overset myself. I'm
maybe.
sorry. I got a little wild on that one.
Yeah.
Top 8.
He's gone a little wild on that one. Everybody calm down.
Let's just, Johnny, you got to cut the last minute of the one. I can't have that being out
really
there.
back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
It's happened to the best of us.
Clip it.
Post it on Twitter. It'll be on go-to video. All right. Washington Justice goes in C. Well, we've done a pretty good job with time here, guys. This is the best we've done on time in a long time. We got one more team, and then we're done for the day. And then we'll go back to the team previews next week as well. We have one more team wanted to discuss. And this week is going to be the Toronto Defiant. So we know what their team is now. They've announced all the coaching staff. Maybe they'll sign one more player. Certainly some of their players have made it publicly known that they would like to see one more player added to cater one specific need for this team. But it's yet to be known. There's even been some kinds of like recruiting going on by some of the players, trying to speak with some of their former players that maybe like, hey, would you come here and play a little bit of wrecking ball for us perhaps, because some of our players don't want to play that hero. So it's yet to be determined if this is the complete Toronto Defiant roster. But, at a first glance, it's pretty much American Tornado, missing a couple of players. There we go. Coluge's tank, Hydron, Sam, Speed, Lesser, damage trio, and OG, Ultraviolet, and Surmagel as your support trio as well. So pretty well-rounded team overall, looking at the coaching staff as well. Cazorus is going to be the head coach after a long session with the San Francisco, a long stint with the San Francisco Shock. No Hill and Wheats as your assistant coaches. So a well-rounded team here, guys.
This team could pop off. I am so excited about this team. This is a big roster too, by the way. Wow. 7 players. That's crazy.
And they have a hole. And they have a pretty glaring hole at 7 players as well.
Yeah, the tank, getting 3 supports and 3 damage and then missing a tank feels a bit weird. Considering most teams, I feel like, would rather have an extra tank player to fill the gaps of like off tank, main tank, etc., like dive rush tanks or whatever the fuck. But honestly, like overall, ignoring that, can't really ignore it, but I'm going to ignore it right now. I quite like the look of this team. And I think it's very hype that it's American Tornado. I think that's very cool. And I think this is kind of what, it's not exactly like Runaway-esque, right? They go to the Titans and then just start dominating. That's not going to happen. But it's still cool to see players that have played together before in previous teams, and especially in Tier 2. And how integrated Tier 2 is now with the Overwatch League, with like Pro-Am and shit. Like, I think this is pretty fucking hype. A lot of people in the Tier 2 community were pretty fucking set on a lot of these players coming to the league before they actually made their debut, and now they're all back together. The boys are back. Like, I don't know about you guys, but this is one of my Toronto Defiant was one of my favorite teams last year, and now I'm like, oh, I actually really like this new look from this team. I'm pretty damn excited.
I think they bring a lot of personality to the league as well. You can just see the content that they've been pushing out. They're in like a cabin in the snow woods right now, just fucking running out of content and just like having fun. There's a lot to like about this team. There's a lot to dislike from some people. Some people aren't going to do that, but that's good. These guys are going to be kind of like the villains of the league, and they're going to talk their shit. They're going to have fun. They have a great culture, and I'm excited to see, because they are all talented players. For me, I'm not sold that this roster as a whole can be championship competitive. Like, are they going to be able to compete with the best in the West when you got the Houston Owls, when you got the San Francisco Shock? I think they'll be able to, have matches against them and be close, but I'm thinking I'm going to struggle to see this team go above like 5.
Struggle
like
to go
around,
above 5.
No, sorry, around 5. Sorry, I'm using my words wrong. They're going to be around 5.
All right. That's fine. We're helping you, Scott. We're holding your hand.
We're walking me through, old man.
Yeah. No, it's all good. Yeah, I do think it's interesting though, because I don't want to dismiss like their upper potential. I think that we have a tendency to look at some of the other teams in the region whether it's, the Boston Uprising with, maybe not the best example, but like tons of like star names and like historic names that are on that roster. I watched, I did like a rewatch thing in my Discord yesterday, and we watched the 2018 Stage 1 final, and Birdring was like the player of the match in 2018. Just like his Widowmaker was insane, bro. And he ended up winning that series. It's like, oh, Birdring in 2023, holy shit. Houston Outlaws, I mean, sure, they have Fearless, Shu, incredibly stacked team. But I do want to think that like Toronto Defiant this year, they have the names that will become those star names eventually. Like, I think there is so much potential on this roster, but the fact that they've had a pretty short stint in the league, most of them just, well, pretty much all of them have just played 1 year in the league. They haven't had a chance to like really build out their name and that name recognition yet. Whereas I think that they could absolutely be this fantastic team this year. So, some people might look at this team like, oh, they're getting back together. We don't know what we're going to get. I generally think this will be like one of the best teams in the league. And, maybe not number one, maybe not competing with like for the championship title, but definitely top 5, I think, in my opinion. Because I think this is like the next generation of Overwatch players coming in. I like their mentality. I like their aggression. I like their vibe. Like, I think they bring so much to the table here that I think is sort of like the recipe for success, the recipe for having a successful team. Incredible team chemistry, aggressive players, proactive players, great mechanics on so many different parts of this team. Whether you're looking at Hydron, who genuinely could be, an award-winning player next year, to OG and Ultraviolet, who's like the best support duo coming out of contenders going into last year. Speedily was immensely hyped up. There is, no pun intended, shocking amount of talent on this roster. And I genuinely think they could perform better than people expect them to this year. So I'm on the hype train pretty much.
With Kasaurus as well, learning from the almighty Krusty, I'm pretty excited to see how Kasaurus does. And with No Hill obviously is like whoa, what the hell? But like that's kind of cool too. I'm glad a lot of the Chinese players, management, coaching staff or whatever are also finding other jobs elsewhere, because the China situation is rough, and No Hill, alongside Kasaurus, could pop off. I want to mention that social media video, the snow video, actual European person moment. All the Americans are like jumping in the snow, like, fuck this shit, what the fuck? And then Kasaurus is just laying into the snow, like actual European moment. Like it's snow on the fucking daily. It was a very funny video. But yeah, I think with Kasaurus learning from Krusty and being on the shot for a long time, he's I would imagine he would be able to identify what it takes to championship winning roster, or close to be with the San Francisco Shock, but championship qualities in a team and players. And I am pretty hyped for him to try this out. This could also backfire completely, and maybe he's not a good head coach, but with his time on the Shock, I'd find that extremely hard to believe.
Yeah, in many ways, I think he's, one of the best fits, like coaching to team. Like, I think Kasaurus will. Sure. I think, despite the fact that some of these players are a bit silly at times, despite the fact that they're like Brand sometimes just like fucking around and leaking rosters, literally leaking Overwatch League rosters on stream, leaking VODs,
leaking scrims.
I think they're very serious about their competitiveness. And speaking to Coluge as well, the interview that me and Custa did, like I got the sense that, like, despite all the silliness and fun, and they really like know how to have a good time, like Coluge is pretty serious at the end of the day. Like he's here to win, and win matches. And I think they're going to listen to their coach. I think they're going to respect Kasaurus, having had experience with him as well. So I think it's a perfect fit. I'm very bullish on this team. The obvious question is, the Wrecking Ball spot. Who's going to play Wrecking Ball for this team? I think Coluge was like, I'd literally like, what was there a quote or something where he was like, I'd rather like quit the team than play Wrecking Ball or something?
Well, no,
like
he said they're going to be in need of a 30-day contract if a Wrecking Ball is required. He's essentially said that he just does not like Wrecking Ball as a hero, and he is unwilling to learn it. Obviously, I hope there's not that much truth to that, because he is the only tank on this team. You alluded to it, Johnny. Reiner would fill this hole quite nicely.
Reiner,
but obviously or Reiner
Mikey.
is. Well, Mikey's on a collegiate team right now, so I don't know if he's able to just piece out of that. But like Reiner, obviously going through some personal stuff, so he's not able to play this year. But I like this team as a whole and their players. I don't think they have many holes. From the scrim that we saw, it looks like Sam is going to be the tracer player. But they also talked about it on the podcast that me and Johnny did with them of Speed could do it. I think they have a lot of options of like what they want to do with that roster. Their backline has no holes especially with all three players. I think they got a lot of mechanical prowess there. So for me, the only big question that I have for them is the synergy as a team and the coaching, as Jack just alluded to, and then the tank setup. I think they would be very good in a lot of metas, but if we do enter in a Wrecking Ball meta, even a Winston one, Coluge sort of identified how much he struggled with Winston on the shock. He had great players around him, so I think that probably made him a lot more confident, and he had a great coach in Krusty. Is he going to be able to replicate that on the Toronto Defiant?
Can I make a comment too? Sorry, Kevin. Thank fuck we have this kind of roster too with personalities on it.
Yes.
Because one of the big things you could say almost any esport is that gamers are gamers. And like the problem with that is a lot of them not that sociable. Maybe they are, with their friends and shit like that. But like online personality wise, there's a reason why Super was one of the he was the face of the Overwatch League when he was in the league, because he's a funny motherfucker. He knows when to be funny and knows when to be serious, and he's just a big fucking personality. There's a reason why he's a very good streamer now, like a very big streamer, because he's just a funny dude and he has a very good personality for that kind of content. On this team, and what Toronto Defiant did a lot of last year, they did do a fair amount of like personal content and like content around the team and the players and shit like that, which is great. And this team now, I would say, is an even better fit for that. I've already seen some like dumb small videos from like Sam talking about being a cat boy and shit like that, and like small clippets and just random bullshit. But like that random bullshit is so important to build the brand of not only the players but the team as a whole. You're definitely going to get a lot more fans if the players are likable, they're funny, and a lot of the teams we've had in the past don't really have that identity. Yeah, they've still got fans because maybe, I'm a fan of this team because they're either my city, or I really like this player from this team and I follow them a lot. But as a completely brand new roster to a team, having that initial burst of fan base from people's personalities, because Hydron is also a funny dude. The Collusion Reiner making out on stream, like on youtube.com/Overwatch League at a LAN, almost making out, like that was funny as fuck. Like it really, like last year really did emphasize a lot of personalities from players, and that is what you want if you're going to pick up a whole new roster. So I would say that is also one of their biggest strengths, which is a complete out of game thing. But that is something that's going to sell jerseys. It's going to sell merch. It's going to sell the team to a lot of people that maybe weren't a fan of Toronto Defiant or these players before this year. So I think that's another important thing to kind of point out to. Not only are they good players, but they've got personality.
So I think for me, this team is sitting somewhere between third and fifth for me so far, with Shock Houston being sort of sitting there top two. But it's a team that also has, I mean, you throw them in I'm picturing right now, like, what is a perfect situation for this team? Sigma double flex support meta, I could see them really punching above, like really punching high. So, I mean, it's got some real potential, this team. It's got some real reach. A lot of the strength of this team and how they place in NA, I think, is going to come down to how the new Atlanta and Boston rosters sort of handle themselves with trying to get all their players to function with a lot of superstar power there. But, they're new teams, and I'm big on pre-existing synergies coming to this year. This is why I rate Shock so high. This is why I put Toronto somewhere between 3 and 5 as well, just because I know it's the AT cores, you got the O2 Blast core, having these known quantities of players that have worked so long together, that know how they function together. And then on top of that as well, you bring in coaching staff like, Wheats has been with his team for a long time, and Kasaurus is someone that we all, and the players as well, regard highly. Speaks well. But I don't think they're below 5 for me. I'm not confident enough to put them above 3 for me either. And my craze also the thing that in some ways, this is kind of like, in terms of ranking and perceived power, almost like an Atlanta Reign from last year. In the case where Atlanta Reign was kind of gatekeeping 5th, but has the potential to maybe be as good as Houston last year on the top of the game.
Yeah, sure.
I have more confidence in this team than I did Atlanta last year because I think Atlanta had a lot of downswing, and we saw that downswing in that year last year because there was a lot of holes and just sort of like some of their play. They had a lot of rookies as well. No one in here is a rookie. Wait, I'm just looking through the list. Yeah, no one's here is a rookie. They haven't been in the league for a long time, but they've at least got an experience. And it's kind of funny that they all got experience from different teams, and then they're coming back together. So I think they'll be able to use a lot of that knowledge from different teams and make their team even stronger. So I like this team more than Atlanta last year, but I like the comparison.
To be fair, in Atlanta last year, the next teams after Atlanta in terms of ranking are teams like London, Florida, Toronto, right? The old Toronto. So I think it got a lot. Well, actually, London beat Atlanta a couple times, but outside of that, it starts to get a little bit weaker after that. But that's just where my initial like thoughts landed, and I'm like, yeah, this could be a gatekeeper team if they do just kind of land fifth. They just stop anybody else from reaching that top 5. It's like, no, you don't get to join this club. But I'm trying to look at the other rosters, like who could really challenge. Could Florida or London do some damage here? Actually, Glads is probably the other team. I think Glads is a question mark for me in terms of how they'll interact with this kind of echelon of team.
I think Florida's sneaky good as well. Like I think Florida could compete with
I
this
am looking
team
forward
as
to
well.
that team preview.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, I think for me, Toronto, just I believe in a lot of the pre-existing synergies, but they need some metas as well, because you're going to get in a situation where Coluge being your only tank, and I have the same criticisms of other tanks. We talked about Danteh a little bit earlier, right? Yeah, he's learning XYZ hero, but he's got to go up against people who have been on this hero for their entire careers, and they're specialized and top of the league on them. You're going up against Coluge and Max on Sigma, for example. You got players that have played ball for far longer. Coluge has definitely got some holes in there he has to match up, and even if he does learn them, is he going to match Fearless on Winston? It's going to be difficult. Is he okay? His off tank's probably fine, but the off tank situation is pretty competitive as well. You got Max Hawk out there. Okay, it's really just them, but maybe Danteh Zarya on a good day.
Yeah, so we touched on it briefly, or at least a little bit, but I would like to hear more. Like, how worried are you about this Coluge solo tank thing? Because Wrecking Ball is obviously a concern, but also like we mentioned it with the Washington Justice preview. Like, we could just head into a Reinhardt meta, and then we might see Coluge and Reinhardt. Like,
I haven't thought about that.
Is this like a like a thing that could turn really bad quickly for the Toronto Defiant, where you're like going into the season, it's like, oh, we're fine. We got Coluge playing tank. His Winston was pretty good in the playoffs, even though they preferred Mikey in the grand final, so he can feel. But like, if we go into a Reinhardt meta, then surely you're Toronto Defiant and you're like, shit, what do we do? Like, they kind of need one more tank player to really play ball and Reinhardt.
Reinhardt, I have less concerns about because Reinhardt I feel like it's like the Reaper. Was it the Reaper gene that Avast talked about? Like, I could absolutely see Coluge just having the Reinhardt gene because it's really just it's a thinking man's hero in a lot of ways. It's just about identifying the matchups and putting the like time in, and just as soon as you've learned the tech isn't that complicated, and like teaching yourself how to do that. It really is just about, playing it head to head. And we've seen a lot of people just like randomly go on it and have success. I would trust Coluge on that. Wrecking Ball, though, if he like refuses to practice it and doesn't want to do it, that's really where I think they have a big issue, especially with Wrecking Ball is like teetering on the edge of being like very meta right now with how they've changed him with the 150 shields and stuff like that.
Yeah. That would be one of the things where I look at this roster and I'm like, oh, I love this roster. It's going to be great. Oh, they're primed for success. Amazing roster. And then I'm like, actually, hold on. Like, they could literally just like get derailed and get like 7th or 8th because they don't actually have a Reinhardt or a Wrecking Ball player. And it's a genuine concern. So that is a bit of a problem. One last thing before we get to ranking this team as well. I want to know your thoughts on Speedily as a prospect, because Speedily spent most of the time last year on the bench waiting to turn of age where he could actually play the game. But when he was signed with the Atlanta Reign going into last season, I was one of the first people out the gate who was like on board the hype train. And I was like, yo, Speedily, one of the best rookies like going into this year. This is going to be amazing. Came into Jotes and he was okay. Like, he was good.
Weren't they trying to play him on Echo?
they did try to play him in Echo, especially going into the playoffs. They were big rumored to play Echo during the playoffs, right? And then people had to move away from that, right? He played lots of Genji, Echo. Do we think that like Hydron and Speedily, how do we rate this duo of Hydron and Speedily? Do you think it's like one of the best damage duos in the region? Or do you think they're like middle of the pack? Where do you sort of stand on these two players? It's a tricky question, guys.
I don't think you can compare them to the best. I think you got to add Sam into the equation as well, because like I think that gives them flexibility, and that is the strength of their DPS line. But I don't think they're the best. But I think I don't think they would. I don't think this DPS trio would ever get diffed by anyone. They could definitely lose out in a matchup, but I think they will be able to hold their own. I think Hydron has just continued to impress us. Speedily, we haven't seen his true power. And Sam, even on the shop, we didn't see that much Sam as well. So I think this is really a year for them to prove themselves.
You got Happy Pelican on the other side. You got Proper. You got Lip.
You got Hussein.
Holy shit!
I'm not saying
I don't give a fuck about Dallas. We're set. We're good, guys. We got enough good players in our region. We don't need them.
You know, as much as Toronto joke about the whole Tracer situation, cool. You got Proper Tracer, Striker Tracer, all the other teams.
Kevster.
Kevster as well. It's like, bro, I mean, Yaki even. Come on.
It is a disgusting prospect to go up against a lot of those players. But I'm just wondering if we will see Speedly's true power, because I was a little bit disappointed. Like, he came in, he did all right, but not as much as people kind of hyped him up to be, because people are like, holy shit, this motherfucker's second coming of Christ, bro. Like, that guy pushed that boulder out the way, that cave, he's emerges, and he's just some ripped, like, 9-foot fucking warlord, and it just didn't end up working out that way. Like I said, he was all right. It was pretty good. He didn't, like, bomb out, but can his true power be reached?
What is his true power? He's like,
exactly what
Echo,
is his
right?
true power
What you need? They better be an Echo man, because I'm repeatedly told he's like the best Echo in the world. But everyone keeps saying.
Who said? I think. Oh man, who the fuck said it? Was it Coluge? Maybe
Coluge said on an interview that he's better than Fleta.
Yeah, better than Fleta when it was an Echo meta.
When Fleta won MVP.
It's just a
like
lot.
Ridiculous. There's a fucking skin. Not after Fleta, but like the Echo skin that year was because of like how influential Echo was, and that was just fucking that was absurd levels. And Coluge saying he was better than Fleta and Echo at that point in time, I'm like, God damn, like that's.
But insane. I don't know how good. I don't know how good his other heroes is. Like, what else?
Yeah. Sure,
he's got this Genji in there as well.
Dude, that doesn't even fucking matter, because people are still hyping it up and being like, you know, he's a fucking sicko mode like player. Like, oh my god, I can't wait to see him in the fucking Overwatch League because he's going to pound. But we just didn't really see that. I still have a lot of hope there that Speedy is going to reach those high heights. But how high is that height when you have a ridiculous year of DPS players coming into the league?
When Proper came into the league, you know, like, when you talk about what his strengths are, it's not like, man, this is one hero you got to watch out for. It's like the whole roster is like, he has like 7 heroes he plays, all at the unbelievably S tier. But Speedly, you talk about the Echo, and I don't know what else is really there. I assume his Genji and stuff should be up to par. I know back in the day, during Doom DPS metas, he was there as well for that. But like, his other heroes or his other picks, is the rest of his kit really talked about on the same level? Because, okay, I'll give him benefit of the doubt. If it's an Echo meta, Defiant should be farming, because that's his realm, right? That's his territory. But if we didn't really get an Echo meta last year, I think we saw some Echo played. I don't know if we're going to get an Echo meta. But outside of that, do they have the firepower? Because Hydron's decent, but even if I had to ask you, gun to head, would you rather have Merit or Hydron? Would you rather have? I'd probably pick Merit.
Merit or Hydron?
Oh.
Yeah,
I think they're pretty even on the Sojourn.
I would
probably Merit slightly.
Probably Merit. Yeah.
I want to pick Hydron.
Yeah.
That's a problem, right? You want it, but you're going to pick Merit, is the problem.
No.
Hydron had a good end to the season.
I would pick Hydron on this roster.
Was great.
That's the thing. I think they're quite equivalent.
I meant in a vacuum, though. I meant no, not in this. I meant in a vacuum.
I'm adding context.
No. The question becomes, would you want Hydron or Merit on Florida this year?
I want Hydron.
Okay, well, we got one person. So and then
I think Hydrant has more flexibility.
so then you have Sam as well, where like okay, the flex DPS talent out here is a little rough. I think Sam's got to go up against the Pelicans, the Proppers of the world. He's saying as well, it's like it's gonna be tough out there. Speedly is like he's it. He's the dude that needs to, at least on the DPS side, like he's the guy that's got to make the difference. And all I ever hear about is the Echo. I don't really know what else is there to compete. Is the rest of his picks good enough to compete?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that rule. Like, if you ask me what Speedly's hero pool is right now, I couldn't tell you what it is.
It's just Echo.
It's just everyone's talking about Echo. And
He's
it's
not
like
one trick. I mean,
No,
he
but
could
he's
roll
not-
out
okay.
on any projectile, and I'd be like,
that
I'm
is-
in.
He's not, but
and that's
no one
true.
ever says anything
but
about
we,
other
but we
heroes.
haven't seen that yet. Like, we haven't seen that in the league, so it's like hard to really like hype him up. We talked about Genji. I'm pretty sure Sam's the Genji player of this team. So it's like, well, we're not even going to really.
No.
Okay, well, if you say no,
What does Sam
then where
play
does
then?
Sam
Speedily
play?
played
What is
Genji
Sam on
in
this team
Jotes.
for? Then where does Sam in this team for?
Speedily literally played Genji in Jotes for Atlanta.
Yeah, but like, so where does Sam fit in this roster then?
I
What does
don't
Sam
know.
play?
He was a friend of the guys.
You genuinely believe that Speedily is just better than Sam
On everything.
on everything?
Well, not everything, but yeah, I'd pick Speedily over Sam on most heroes. Yeah.
Okay.
I
I think that's sort of the interesting thing of it's like
That is
I don't have
risky to say
here's the
when
thing
you've
is
not seen
I
it.
don't have the answer to that either because Sam and Speedily, they both have similar hero pools. We've seen them hyped up. We've seen them have some good matches, but we haven't really seen either of them transition that actually into the league other than on their signature heroes. So I don't really know how to feel about it. I'm curious to see who ends up being the Tracer guy because Collusion Sam said Speed was going to be it on our podcast. But in the scrims, we saw Sam play, but it's just a shitty scrim. So I don't know.
At the end of the day, no matter who it is, you're going up against like unbelievable god tier tracers like the ones we listed. And so you can be a good tracer, but there's a difference between a good tracer and like the top of the top tracers.
Yeah, and I think that is what is, unless one of them can really pick it up, it is one thing that I think is really going to hurt them if we enter into hard tracer meta. Like that will like cap them at that 5 point of like they're going to really struggle to beat these other teams which have legendary tracers on their rosters. Because tracer's just so impactful.
It is.
All right, guys. It's time to place the Toronto Defiant. It's actually interesting because I think we all look at them as a team full of potential and they could do fantastically well. But there are a few glaring
This is
issues.
the easiest placing of all time.
Is it?
I think
The
A.
easiest
has to be.
Vegas.
Wait, did you say Vegas? Are you putting them
No,
in D?
I said it's as easy. Yeah, I did say I said Todd Barris. I need to get that out of my fucking skull, by the way. God damn. If I'm casting this year, I'm gonna get screwed by that shit. I think A makes the most sense to me as well. Like
Three of us
it's a
going.
very easy placing, I think.
Yeah, I
on the
think
team's
so
ramp
too.
up.
There are a
Easy
few
A.
teams. There are a few teams that I want to put in B, but I think Toronto slightly outweighs them into A. And I don't know. I am really hopeful about this roster, but I am also 20% of me is frightened that they might just fall flat in a bad meta that like doesn't suit them, and they're like, shit, like what do we do, guys? But they feel like they have a lot of things going for them. Also, I'll say final thing. I don't root for a team, but I genuinely hope that this roster does well because holy shit, Toronto Defiant fans deserve it. They've been through so much shit, starting out with the early rosters of Toronto Defiant in 2019, picking up like this Cariv Surefour Agilities thing in 2020. They were one of the bottom 2 teams like in the league. 2021, they got this absolute shit fest of 2021 not so much, but 2022 where like the whole Muse drama versus the coach was a KDG, and just like they got rid of KDG, and then Muse gets benched on Winston in favor of Hotba for the playoffs. Like it was just an absolute shit sandwich of a experience to be part of this team for the longest time. It's just been awful. So I hope they do well.
2021 was the year that Logix got left out of the Discord server.
Logix got left out. Sado was chugging coke and playing with Tisu.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, that was
That was good shit.
Yeah.
Magnitude is the DPS coach as well, just the DPS coach, which was quite funny.
Yeah, it's been a journey for Toronto Defiant fans and the management, and they generally tried to invest last year and try to get a good team together. And so I I genuinely hope from the bottom of my heart that they get some success this year because they deserve it.
Yeah.
They deserve it. They've tried so hard, and just it's been miserable.
Well,
every
they'll
year,
get
so.
success, but the problem is because there's only 2 tournaments. Can they really win either of them? One of the tournaments is the playoffs. Is the problem because like I think if we had the 4-stage format, I could see them just finding the right manner and winning a stage. But the margin for error this season is
I think
just too
there's a
tight.
chance. You know, as much as the other
There's
teams are
a
super
chance.
stacked, there's like a
There's a chance,
15% chance that they like.
You wouldn't
got a
wouldn't
good
say
run.
they're the favorites unless like you see them regular season. It's the perfect meta for them. I just think preseason you wouldn't consider them a favorite for anything just yet, which is a way too early thing to say. But just based on only preseason roster power.
Yeah, I mean they're
You know what I'm
definitely like a dark horse to like win the pro-am. I'm not saying they're favored, but they're like a dark horse pick to win the pro-am for sure.
That's right. There's a
absolutely,
pro.
yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, so maybe 3 events then, including pro.
Yeah, so a chance. Everyone seems pretty much to agree with A.
Yeah. Happy with A.
In this one.
Happy with that.
Happy with that, indeed. Now, there was something that it gets kind of muddied in the waters here because we're trying to talk about news, but we're also trying to do team previews. So we're trying to talk about news where we don't actually do a team preview. So we talked about Hangzhou Spark, and then we're doing a team preview on the Hangzhou Spark. It gets hard because we don't want to say the same shit over and over again. But one thing that did happen that I guess we can just briefly touch on as well before we leave is that Seoul Infernal actually announced their roster as well. So
Just now?
we'll talk.
Wait, did they?
Just now.
No, in the last week.
Right. Right, last week.
So
say.
we'll talk more at length about this roster, what we think about it in a team preview next week, because we're trying to keep it to 3 times a week. So we're not going to spill all the beans and just like all the takes, but some initial reactions to this roster. What do we think, guys?
Yeah.
Mag as their tank after his Boston and Washington stints. Skewed find a place as one of the primary players now after being on the Gladiators and being a playing on the bench a bit. Fix back to the team and M3 incest. So 3 additions.
Well, it's like it's like there's not a huge amount to talk about because this team is pretty much the same team, except they now have Mag as their only tank and Skewed as their flex support. So it's like Skewed we haven't seen as a primary flex support. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to pull off. He was good for the Gladiators, but he primarily played Brig. And then Mag, bro, if this has got to be his last chance at if he doesn't do well this season, at some point he's got to look inwards.
If he doesn't do well, he's the new OG.
Yeah,
he's the new OG if he doesn't work.
Yeah, the new OG of he's this player that we've hyped up for so long, and everyone sort of talks about how mechanically great he is, but he just cannot transition that to win. So I hope this team does well. I think they'll be solid in the APAC region, but it hasn't changed that much from really last year.
Skewed is an upgrade to Aim God in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Beyond that, is Mag an upgrade to Fury Bellasaria? To be seen. I think that's the TBA, right? That's the part we're not too sure about. I'm willing to give Mag another chance because I got some mad copium from watching him on Runaway. I know what his peaks are, I know what he's capable of, and I'm maybe I got that mad copium of it's Washington's fault. Washington fucked him, whatever. So maybe now he's back in Korea, he can get back into form. But yeah, I think this is his last chance for sure.
Yeah. I like the Mag signing as well. I think that's worth saying. I think it's a good player to take a gamble on.
Mag? Yeah. I pretty much agree. I don't think you can really read into a situation at Boston Uprising at all. I'm just well, that was a shit situation. The punk narrative had already started with Boston at that point, and so it was just destined to fail, where he was it's Mag who's coming from a team that had a bad reputation, and everyone wants to see Punk because everyone loves Punk and he's statistically winning maps. So it was a bad situation, but he has skill. I'm interested to see him in a team that's not the Washington Justice, and we'll see about Skewed as well. But we'll talk more at length about Seoul Infernal. I think we can all agree that we all of us love MN3 incest, so there's not much more to talk about that. At least one of my favorite damage duos in the league. So,
hey Johnny,
yeah.
Can we talk about the patch notes before we leave?
I gotta get food, bro.
He's already got them up.
I gotta get food, man. Oh,
there's not a lot of changes. I mean,
there's nothing impactful really.
The best change in this patch, scroll all the way fucking down. Sojourn got a hitbox change.
The BAP one is the biggest one, the most impactful one, I think.
I thought you were gonna say the top 500 leaderboard update.
Oh, I mean that's cool too, but
yeah, I'll just run it through quickly so you can interrupt Terra Search with hack.
I don't know why.
Cringe, Sombra, cringe.
It's just to make it consistent for the Sombra stuff. That's it.
Chain hook cooldown reduced from 8 to 6 seconds, but it now starts when the ability ends instead of the start, so essentially the same freaking thing. Minefield arming time increased from 1 to 1.25 seconds, so it takes longer for the mines to activate when Wrecking Ball uses his mines. I love this change.
Wait, the Xayah buff. You got to talk about the Xayah buff. The Xayah buff's the biggest one.
The shared cooldown for particle barrier and projected barrier reduced from 11 to 10 seconds. Developer comment: a previous change decreased both barrier duration and increased the cooldown at the same time, lowering Star's effectiveness more than anticipated. This is a partial reversion to help level it out.
Could be good.
Zarya's a fun hero.
Any more insight, Custa? Because it was so important.
Well, it's like I think it's one of the few changes that actually might affect the meta. People might actually start trying Xayah, and we know how strong Xayah was in the start of Overwatch 2 as a whole with the changes, and they ended up nerfing her by changing her bubble, so she lost survivability. So this could actually impact her.
That's cool.
Ashe, Bob now prefers to shoot at enemy targets that Ashe damages with her rifle. Amazing.
It's like Torb. Torb does the same thing now, which is cool because you get to focus down one person. I like that. Instead of just randomly shooting shield, we might not ever have a Bob off ever again. Where the Bobs just sit and shoot.
Unless you just shoot the Bob. Unless Ashes just shoot the Bobs.
Yeah, I mean, if both Ashes shoot the Bob, sure.
But don't shoot Bob.
When's that ever going to happen?
Yeah.
Don't shoot Bob.
Yeah. Hanzo is some more survivability because they think that he has high burst, but he still underperforms, so they're giving some more
That's a 20% improvement.
Not bad.
That is right. Statistics. Blizzard ultimate cast time reduced from 0.5 to 0.4 seconds. A bit of a buff to May. 0.1 seconds to be fair. Pharah, jump jet movement is now influenced by directional input. So if you move backwards, you won't like propel forwards when you use the jump jet. So
yeah,
small little change. And Sojourn, torso hit volume increased by 20%.
She's the way her strafe hitbox moves, because she like leans from side to side. It is one of the harder hitboxes from DPS standpoint to hit. Like holy, fuck.
Especially when like crouch AD spamming, it's like impossible.
It's disgusting. So yeah, honestly, good. That's just so stupid.
Yep. And
this Baptiste one is crazy.
Finally, Immortality Field. Minimum health threshold increased from 10 to 25%, meaning
pretty good.
That when you stand in the Immortality Field, your minimum health you could have is 25% of your max HP. So if you are a 200 health, damage player, you have 50 health now in the Immortality Field until it goes down.
Which is, I can't stress how important that is. One of the things that made Immortality quite nerfed is that when it broke, you would just die, right? Or when you got pushed out of it, you would just die. Now, 200 HPs have 50% minimum health. Any tank who is 1 health will now instantly pop up to over 100 health. Like, this change, Baptiste is already dumb strong. I think this change will make Baptiste meta in the Overwatch League. I'm calling it now.
This is a more impactful change than the Zarya one, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I think so.
This is an insane
Okay,
change.
so Scott lied earlier because he said the Zarya.
Because they'll be lower than 50%. You get that extra healing too from a shift. So the tank is like full HP. It's crazy.
If you just do the math, that you're like, it gives like hundreds of more health to your team. Like if they're in the Immortality.
I mean, what comps is this helping? This is helping the Sigma double flex comp. This is helping the Ryan comp.
Yes, and Ryan. Like I think it's going to be Sigma and Ryan comps. After seeing this,
what
we've
about
already
Ram
seen
comps?
people. We've already
Did
seen.
Babs get played in it?
Ryan loses. I think Ryan beats Ram these days because of the changes to his ult.
Of the ult, yeah.
Yeah. But I think we've already started to see people play a lot of Ryan, like Ryan Lucio Bap in like the open for the Pro Am already. Yeah. I think this is only going to make it stronger, and I think we're going to see Baptiste rush going to Al. That's my prediction.
That is a good thing. That is good. I had someone come on my Twitch chat the other day, and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's the Overwatch League meta?" Like, I don't fucking know, but I hope it's not something fucking boring. And this is it, dude. Like, if it's a Rhine meta, fucking sick. I really hope we don't end up what happened last year throughout like the season, because we had the JQ meta. It got so fucking boring. I'm really hoping we start off strong with like a good, solid fucking Rhine meta. Which actually, to be fair, last year we did start off with a good meta. It was very fun with Zarya. So if we start off with a Ryan this year, I'm all for it. Even if it's with BAP, Immortality Field is a little bit like, sometimes, it's a bit frustrating. But clutch lamps are cool to see too. Like clutch lamps saving people, say.
Dude,
It'd be cool.
I think I think I've been vaccinated against bad metas. I watched that 2018 Stage 1 finals yesterday, and it was like Orisa, D.Va, Junkrat, Mercy with double res and Valk, and they're just like hitting corners and just like double res D.Vas and Orisas and just get the team alive. It was so fucking bad, dude. I don't care what the meta is this upcoming season. It could be whatever meta, but it was not as bad as that meta. That mad.
And there are still people. There are still people on the fucking timeline. I'm talking to you, content creators. You know who the fuck you are. Saying 6v6 was good. Dude, what, do you want to go back to triple, like, fucking double shield with Bastion? Do you remember that fucking shock screenshot on top of Gibraltar, the spaceship in the second fucking point? With a BAP window, 1 shield, 2 shields? Yeah, can't wait to play that, bro. It's going to be so much fun. Woo! Let's go, baby! Shut the fuck up. 6v6 was a joke. 5v5 is here to stay.
Fuck yeah. I agree with everything that was, dude.
Fair enough.
Also, the meta's really good right now. Like, just straight up, I think the meta is actually quite good. I was wondering, like, we were spitballing yesterday, like, what we wanted in the patch notes. There wasn't a lot I wanted. Like, honestly, it's pretty good. I want Kiriko changes, but, you know, they're not going to fuck with it. I think the meta's actually quite good, and I think we're in for a treat in the first season of Al, unless Ryan Rush just, like, takes over everything. But I don't think it will. I just think it'll be strong.
I think it will. That's just how the hive mind works. They're like, guys, the BAP Ryan thing.
The ball. Only ball wins.
Wow, that's hopium. That's hopium right there. Right. Bren's Player of the Week, guys. And let's wrap this up before it's a 3-hour episode. Because it's totally not that already. It's a 2-hour 54.
Bren's Player of the Week.
Bren's Player of the Week.
Quick, end it in 5 minutes.
What
have we got?
Who's getting Bren's Player of the Week? I have no idea, to be honest with you. I mean, you could give it to like Roston for shitting on Dynasty, or bantering rather.
That was a very funny tweet, to be fair.
It was pretty funny. We care more than the Dynasty. It was like the Seoul Korea tweet as well.
Let's give it to One Punch Man.
Give it to anime.
The people who brought us
the anime
One Punch Man.
Give it to
Overwatch,
anime.
One Punch Man
Just
collaboration.
the entire anime.
Could we give it to Chengdu for failing so that Hangzhou Spark could run?
Fuck it. Yeah, that's funny. That's good.
Now we are officially getting Shy leave. You know,
why don't you just give it to Hangzhou Spark then? I don't know why.
Okay, you're right.
I'd be down for that. Yeah, we get leave Shy. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm not convinced, guys. I'm not convinced, guys.
Well,
Did the scientists do anything this past week?
What the fuck?
I don't know. Has the scientific community been cooking anything?
There was a huge shit. I don't know the scientific.
We could give it to Fernando Alonso.
Oh, dude, yeah, I was gonna say give it to Fernando Alonso.
We're giving it to Fernando Alonso. We're getting top 3. Age 42, the veteran.
Holy shit,
man!
This episode full fucking circle. We start off with F1, we end with F1.
He gets driver of the day and our Bren's Player of the Week. Come on,
that's when you know he's peaked.
What a journey!
One of the best drivers ever. 42 years of age, get his 99th podium. I think it was. Yeah. Absolute legend of the sport. There you go. That's a Brent quote for you. Legend of the sport. Fernando Alonso, Brent's Player of the Week. Amazing. Right. Next week, we'll be continuing and do 3 more team previews, including the Seoul Infernal. So calm down, Infernal fans. I see you in the chat. Yeah, I see you. And 2 more teams. Maybe we'll do Hangzhou and someone else. It'll be a good time. Tune in next week, and hopefully no bad news. Just good news from now on. Good news for the rest of the year. Yes. It's going to happen. I believe. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week.